All right, let's get going. Like to welcome those online and also in the conference room this morning. We're going to start our work session. Today is Monday, October 16th. It's 11 o'clock, actually 11:04 a.m. I'm Commissioner Gageford. I'll be conducting the work session this morning. With me, to my right, is Commissioner Sharon Bolos, Commissioner Jim Harvey to my left. We're going to start this work session this morning with the Center of Excellence presentation. Mr. Bob Hunter, we're very happy to have him in the room, Kevin Eastman and Brian Cowan. Brian, are you going to give part of this presentation?
I'm here to participate in the discussion, but I don't have anything prepared.
Kevin, you got anything prepared? Are you here to participate?
Likewise.
Ask question, make comments?
They're here as part of the governing board.
I thought that, but I just want to make sure people on
Yep,
line were aware of
Same.
that. And Michaela's with us, of course, also from the health department.
and Jill,
And Jill. How come you're not, Jill, you're not on the agenda, but you're happy to make comments, but Bob Hunter is. So Bob, go ahead.
If it's all right with you, I think it's probably quicker and easier to just read through it, and it shouldn't take us very long, so,
Okay, where do you want to start?
I'll start with the first sentence under introduction.
I like
This-
starting at the first.
The other piece is simply a list of grants that I'll be referring to, so we won't read through that, but it's there for your perusal.
Great, thank you.
This report is the result of an information gathering process, including conversations with COE leadership, employees, and key community partners. It represents the facts and advice we've been able to accumulate during the brief period in which we've been able to do so. That brevity means this is an ongoing process and exchange of ideas. Based on what we've collected so far, this report contains recommendations for further action. Headlined below are elements and issues deserving consideration. There was a proposal from the Weber County Sheriff, which you may or may not have seen. I know Commissioner Bolos read through it. The sheriff has outlined some understandable reasons why his office could manage the COE. But we believe the perception of some of our client families who've had past or current relationships with law enforcement would create an unnecessary barrier as a first contact. And the RICs, the resource integration coaches, have expressed that. They said, we work with some people who just don't want to be, at the jail because of, experiences they've had there. Nothing to do with the quality of the law enforcement, but with, their family experiences.
They've been there that just as soon never go back.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of makes sense, yeah.
But not accepting that proposal doesn't mean we can't work more extensively with the sheriff and law enforcement. So I wrote, however, it would be an altogether positive change of perception once they become comfortable with their assigned COE resource integration coach, otherwise RIC, and I'll be referring to RICs all through here. For certain children from those families to have a ride-along experience with a sheriff's deputy or police officer. And I think that's something that we need to promote and encourage. Kids from those kinds of families can change their whole attitude about law enforcement if they have that experience. Hopefully, the Weber Justice Center bond will be approved, which, by the way, I have signs if anybody's willing to take one and put it in their yard. I've got 100 more signs. We need to get them out. Hopefully, the Weber Justice Center bond will be approved, which will allow the sheriff to accommodate relevant nonprofit organizations and portions of COE work at the jail site and increase the level of support to make re-entry even more positive. Merger with Cottages of Hope. In discussion with leaders of Cottages of Hope, they have suggested a possible merger with the COE. The obstacle there is that they do not have space to accommodate RICs in their facility, and the COE, as it now stands, has no space to accommodate cottages. However, we are currently engendering a strong working relationship between our RICs and Cottages financial stability coaches. They haven't been working together in the past, and we're encouraging that to happen because the financial stability piece is a third leg of a stool to help support these families. So that's something we're setting up a meeting for them to get together and talk about how they can work.
Bob,
together.
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So why haven't they worked with cottages in the past? I mean, when we looked at this 4 years ago, and I've always been an advocate of cottages. In fact, I I think I got them some money a couple
You,
years ago.
you did, and we appreciate your
But, so
support.
why haven't they taken on, why didn't COE ever get involved? Because that financial stability seems to me like a huge portion of what the COA should be trying to, if we're looking at achievables out there.
You know, you're right on target with that, and the only answer, to make it brief and not say things
Yeah.
that I'd prefer not to say, it's a matter of personality.
Okay,
And I think you've tried to address that in some of your past
Okay.
actions here.
I just wonder, I
That-
understand
that's what
that,
it
but
boils
there's
down
any
to.
other reasons?
That's consistent with what I've heard.
Yeah, okay,
There's
But
no,
our families have gone to Cottages of Hope and they have used their resources.
yeah,
okay, good.
Oh, good.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
they have.
That's good.
discussion with Weber Human Services, meetings with the Weber Human Services Administration tell us that while WHS desires to continue its collaboration and partnership with the COE in specific ways, and I'll be talking about a grant when we get to the end of this that involves them. They believe it makes sense to pair it with another agency that fits more comfortably with its overall work. Discussion with Ogden Can. It is understood that after consultation with Ogden Civic Action Network leadership, the Ogden Can geographic boundaries are far more condensed than those of the COE. So a merger there would not be compatible. However, the organization, and they've expressed this in a very encouraging way, they're looking forward to reinvigorating their partnership.
Great.
The COE standalone model. Integrated Community Action Now, which is ICANN, which is sort of the core program of the Center of Excellence. It's the program that is carried out by the RICs as they meet with families and try to intercept intergenerational poverty and that sort of thing. This is an excellent program created by the initial director of the COE. It represents the direct work of the RICs in dealing with families and intergenerational poverty. The systems people, the support staff that works in the office, who work in the COE office, support RIC's groundwork among other projects of the COE. Intergenerational poverty projects are currently popular with national and state governments, as well as educational institutions and private donors. Thus, grants, contracts, and memorandums of understanding could easily support the COE without a county subsidy. Some such funding sources are currently giving sustainability, and others are being pursued. A list of active and future grant opportunities, which is the list I referred to, is in the back. With the county's change in COE administration, partner agencies are expressing great interest in renewing relationships and reinvigorating the work. This represents recognition of the value of the work done by the COE. However, it is my understanding that the county commission feels some urgency in taking defined, reliable action as soon as possible, and I assume that represents your feelings. So, proposal to place the COE with the Weber Morgan Health Department. Discussion with the Weber Morgan Health Officer and Executive Director Brian Cowan has been informative and reassuring in terms of the department's possible ability to absorb the COE. With existing administrative staff, it is assumed that some current administrative costs in the COE could be reapplied to the groundwork support of client families. We understand that the Health Department Annex could physically accommodate the current COE staff, thus possibly freeing up space in the Weber Center lower level for other issues, for other things you want to use it for. We are currently pursuing approval from the Utah Department of Workforce Services for possible transfer of its grant, the current major funding source of COE. Should the commission decide to move the COE into the health department or elsewhere, we do not anticipate any problem with that, but it hasn't been discussed thoroughly enough to have a conclusion, but we don't see any problem with that at all.
With the health department?
No, with the health department or getting approval for the transferring the grant from the.
Transferring the
DWS.
grants,
Yeah.
Okay.
If indeed the county commission decides to transfer all or part of the COE to another parent organization, we would recommend the Weber Morgan Health Department. It is also recommended that with that action, the governing board should be dissolved and replaced with an advisory board made up of a handful of major partners. I'm preparing a list of partners that I think could be considered for that. Discussion with United Way of Northern Utah. United Way has hosted the 211 information referral line, home of the nonprofit connection, collaborating with more than 80 local nonprofits. It's the host of AmeriCorps community school coordinators, who, by the way, work very closely with the RICs. Help Me Grow, Welcome Baby, and Learn with Playgroup programs are all part of what United Way supports. United Way is also fiduciary for Project Safe Neighborhoods with the federal government and the Ogden Police Department, which, by the way, is really a helpful process in doing away with gangs and gang violence here in Ogden. And United Way is also the facilitator for the United Partnership Council, which is education, human services, and other programs that sustain students and families. Needless to say, after discussion with the health department and what it can absorb, it would serve us well to find out how United Way can collaborate, support, and supplement the COE work, which is basically something United Way already does. And I sent a copy of this proposed
Finding
report to Julie. She's out of town. Everybody's out of town. DWS is out of, Jill and I are the only two that aren't out of town.
Are you here?
I thought I was here.
Sharon?
But I'm getting ready to go.
Weaver County Commission is here, Bob.
And enforced too.
Enforce.
And so, Julie did text me this morning, Brian, and she feels like we all do, that she would look forward to working with the health department. She's very positive. I don't think I've worked with a more upbeat person who just wants to make things work and collaborate and do away with silos. So here's what we need now from you. County Commission should confirm its plans as to the disposition of the COE. I suspect what you want to do, but you need to confirm that. Following the commission's decision, if needed, appropriate action on the part of COE staff will need to take place. There's positions that may have to be discontinued, positions that may have to be reassigned a little bit. We need to go through that discussion with Brian and Michaela and get that all figured out before we actually do it. I intend to talk to the staff tomorrow. We're having a staff meeting tomorrow and explain to them whatever your decision is, and give them appropriate information, and then we can proceed with whatever following actions we need to take. And we're happy to work with Emily in HR, Emily Wild in HR, with Brian and Michaela, and Jill's a great partner because she's been there so long and understands the contracts and that sort of thing. What we also need is approval of a memorandum of understanding between the COE and Ogden School District, which is an ongoing program. It simply needs to go through the commission, be approved by the commission, and be signed by you. It's a memorandum of understanding that doesn't involve us, having to spend money or take money. It's a working relationship with the Ogden School District, and with your approval, we'd like to get it on. Is Thursday the day we have to turn things in, and then it's on the agenda next Tuesday?
Yeah.
If that's okay, we'd like to go ahead with that.
Bob, is there a current memorandum of understanding?
There is.
If
So is
you'd
this
like
just
to read
renewing?
through it, we can make sure you have a copy of that.
Okay,
It's
so we're
mostly for
renewing
data
that,
sharing,
so we're just renewing
Mhm.
that, okay.
So do you work with the school district and?
very closely with
Oh,
the
yeah.
school district.
Community schools, that's another tie between United Way, community schools, and the COE, our RICs. In fact, I was walking into a meeting up at the Weaver State's Community Education Center the other day, and Madeline McDonald stopped us, and she said, we just met with Zach and Jessica. They're two of our RICs, and this is what amazing people they are, the kind of work they do.
Is Madeline still working with school district?
She's just about to come back to United Way.
Oh,
She
is she?
started out as the head of the Red Cross,
Yeah,
and then she worked with United Way, and then she went to, was it Two Rivers?
Mhm.
Or,
yeah.
Yeah, she's with.
Anyway.
Adult Ed.
she's just been rehired by United Way.
Hmm.
She'll be one of
Oh.
our employees, and
Oh,
she's
good.
amazing. She's
Yeah,
a great networker, and she's had experience in all of these.
Madeline's a great
Oh, yeah.
community resource. Yeah,
Yeah, we love Madeline.
yeah, I agree.
So we have a humanitarian area initiative with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we've met with Weaver Human Services, and there's a great project where over the next number of months, we will assign 27 young people who have mental health issues. Weaver Human Service will be performing the action. COE will be the fiduciary and simply pass the money through to Weaver Human Services. But here's why I like that tie. The church was not too happy recently with not getting responses on the funding they were giving. And I don't want to go into any more detail than that, but I've been with the church representative who's in charge of funding for Utah, and we've explained that the COE is going to continue in some form or another, that they can rely on us. We continue to support that, and that we'll be providing the names of children that Weaver Human Services can work with in that process. So that needs to be on the agenda so that you can approve that. So if that's all right, we'll get that on the agenda as well.
Good.
An extension grant with the Department of Workforce Services needs to be placed on the next commission agenda. But I think what we'd like to do is have a week and put it on the next week's commission agenda, because in the meantime, I think we need to talk about that grant with Brian and Michaela, should you be turning this thing over to the health department, and make sure that it's something that they're interested in. But the positive of it is this: if we continue with that grant, it will help fund positions that can then be useful in the COE's work. And without that grant, we may be squeezed. Brian, I don't know. I know you got refunding on COVID, which helped you, I think, relax some issues with reduction in force, but there still may be some positions that people can take that would come along with that grant. But I think it requires a bit of discussion first. Does that sound?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay. So we'll just hold on that, but we may be back to you to get it on the agenda and the week following next.
Okay, great.
We are seeking approval. This is a minor thing, but everybody's waiting for your answer. We're seeking approval of the use of the parking lot east of the Weaver Center as a trunk or treat activity for our families that we work with. On the 26th of October, it'll be after work from 6 to 8 p.m. But we understand that apparently it's your portfolio and you need to approve it. So I called Chris, I called Brandon Quinney, and I don't have, he said that it sounded just fine. But I think he wanted to check with you because you know everything. And
He was going to call Johnny Miller. With you said to see if there are any liability concerns. I didn't get an update with that. He's not in the office today. He shot it out. So
oh,
this morning, so he is taking care of that. But I'll reach out to him, find out if there are any insurance issues.
if you can do that, then we can let Commissioner Brewer know, because our RICs need to know in time to be able to, they don't meet with their families every single day. They need time to be able to communicate with them and say that we're going to do the trunk or treat.
So I'm fine with that, subject to getting back with the liability, making sure our liability is not.
Okay, so once Chris gets back to me, we'll assume that you're okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if we've got it clear from our insurance, you said,
Okay.
you're good with me.
All right. So
Okay,
that's it.
great report. It's interesting as I'm reading through this. Especially when it talks about, having the community partners involved with decisions. That's where I thought we were going 4 years ago, Bob. So as I sit here, this is, anyway, a little frustrating to me at some point, but at the same time,
That's what I assumed.
this is where we were headed, that I thought we were headed. And obviously we didn't head in that direction. So do you feel that based upon these recommendations, if the health department takes it, we can actually get the community back involved? Because that's where we fell apart.
Well, and I don't think it's quite as serious, because it has been there's been some good work done.
Yeah,
And there've been certain partners that have been helpful regardless of any personality issues. But I think it would be much, much smoother now.
okay.
And I don't know of anybody in the community, in our nonprofit circles, who doesn't have complete respect for Brian and the operation that he has in the health department.
I don't disagree.
It's surprising, isn't it?
No, but that's a nice statement, though. That's a
agree.
way to go. That's an attaboy.
Well, thank you, but I can't take all the credit for that. A lot of the outreach is done by staff at the health department, and we just are fortunate to have the staff on board that recognize the strength in community partnerships and do the work to keep them strong and keep them functioning.
And if I
Chair,
were-
if I may, can go ahead, a little diatribe here. Thing is, for me, going back all those years, Brian, is to have that kind of a statement coming from all those organizations based on what I'm gonna call a brief tenure. That's a statement of trust, a statement of confidence. And so that, to me, lends itself to the decision made as you were, as you replaced the other guy as the director. And so congratulations, that's wonderful.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's,
Nice to hear.
it's an accurate statement. And,
It is boss's day, so I will say he's.
Oh, it's boss's day?
And I'm not just kissing him.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Well, that's
I know,
nice.
right? I did nothing for that statement, just so you know, unsolicited.
if I were to name an additional staff member, Bryce Sherwood is one that goes out and represents,
He's a
Brian.
good dude,
Yeah, he
old
is.
Bryce Sherwood.
he's a great
Just
guy.
kind of level and calm.
That's good. Okay, Commissioner Bolos, this is your portfolio.
I don't have anything to add.
Comments,
I
questions?
know, I appreciate the report. That's very beneficial and thank you for the list of, I think you probably helped with that, Jill, the list of
Oh, yeah,
grants.
for
and,
sure.
That's very helpful. Have you seen this other than just right now? Could you help with, maybe you help put it together, I don't know, but
This one?
yeah,
I haven't seen it until right
I haven't either, but it's gonna be useful as we make a transition, if
That's
that's
great.
the route we go, so.
So Brian?
Yep.
I'm assuming you've had some discussions. You're okay with this if we head that direction?
Yeah, Commissioner Farrar.
What's your concerns or?
Well, we've been involved in discussions and kind of talked about what this would do at the health department if it were to be moved there, and we feel like we're prepared to take it on. We recognize that we're really whittling down a square peg to make it fit in a round hole in the process, so there's gonna be some adjustments that need to be made, and what we as we will, to do what the Center of Excellence has been doing, we may not do exactly the same thing. We're committed to keeping the intergenerational poverty program operating and the resource integration coaches doing the work that they do. We feel that's the bulk of what the center is accomplishing right now. A lot of the work that the center has been doing is parallel to the work that we have staff at the health department doing already, and so we'll continue to do that work. Just with a little bit different approach as we keep it under the umbrella of the social determinants of health. But we do feel like if this transition happens, that we're burdened a little bit with excessive staff. We've got staff at the health department that do a lot of the work that some of the positions in the Center of Excellence are currently doing. I think that will be the biggest hurdle for us to work through is how we are able to staff the workload appropriately and efficiently in the process. And there's some things we'll have to work out there as far as number of people that transfer over. We'll also have to work out some pay grade issues that have been created. But I think there's a lot of potential, and if the direction is for the health department to take on this role, we're committed to that. The Center of Excellence, its first year of inception was housed over at the health department. So
Yeah.
in some ways it's coming back to us, and see what we can do with it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Michaela, do you have anything to add to that? Kevin? No. Okay, so
What we'd
Bob,
like
have you
to-
got,
Go ahead.
you know, I see the ask you've asked from us. What's, in order to make this transition happen, assuming that's the direction we go, and I asked you this before, what's your forecast in terms of timing?
I think
You've given this some good thought, which I very much appreciate.
Brian and I haven't had a chance to talk. Brian's been slammed this last week. He did training. It was out of town, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Training, during the last 2 days of last week, and then he needed to come home and take a breather, and so he and I haven't had recent conversations. But my thinking is, we can go through the things that need to be done, the grant consideration and that sort of thing. And I think I could be wrapped up in terms of my participation by the middle of November.
Okay.
Brian, what do you think? Do you think that's cutting it too short?
No, I think that's probably doable. I think the hardest things for us to work through are going to be the personnel issues. I think on the contract side, there's two approaches. We can get, the grants transferred to the health department, but a benefit of Weber County acting as the health department's fiscal agent, I think that gives us some flexibility for the county to continue to have that contract and the funding to be directed to the health department in that process. But Scott could probably give us some more details on that. But I think because of that relationship, I feel like the personnel issues are going to be the ones that take us or need most time to work through.
So let's say at the very outside, the end of November, but I'm anxious to get it wrapped up too. And, we're working on the thing for the jail program. By the way, this is just an aside. I met with Scott Anderson, the CEO of Zions Bank, on Friday.
Good for you.
And I think they're going to be willing to help us. We're only up to about 37 to 40,000 right now, and we need to raise 100,000 in order to pay for the campaign. We've ordered a $16,000 survey to find out how we should talk to people. That's already been done, but I mean, we're in the process of putting on the campaign now, so we got to raise enough money to pay for it. And so I'm willing to bring signs to anybody that would like to put them in their yard.
Well, my yard won't do you much good, but we already took some signs up. She's putting around the valley, just so
I
you know.
know, mine is the same. I live at the top of a hill, and the only people that come by are two other people when they come and go to work. So,
Yeah.
but
So we could safely say by end of November, 1st of December.
yeah,
Is
does that sound okay, Brian?
And then you'd, obviously work with Emily in terms of the personnel issues.
And Jill, I've come to understand how much knowledge Jill has, and we'll be using her substantially in this process. She's been here longer than any of us in terms of COE, so.
So Jill, what's your take on this? You, like he said, you've been here from the
It's been a little
get-go.
bit of a roller coaster, so I think that, where the ICANN grant was our major funding source, really our only funding source, that's the only grant that we actually have. That's what we need to continue with. We need to, that's the main work that we do. That's how we positively, make a difference with Weber County residents. And I think that's where the biggest impact is. My concern is also with staff, because I do think that the whole idea with the COE was that it was going to grow, and that, we were going to continue to be in a lot of different areas with criminal justice, with prevention, all of that. And so we hired some people thinking that we would grow. So keeping them, funded through ICANN to continue to do IGP work is a little concerning, because I think that we do have a few more staff than we need to do ICANN, the IGP work. So, but if we expand with the expansion grant, maybe we can keep them on.
Yeah, that's one of the positives with the expanded grant. And one of the things in the leadership positions, if you call me a leader, over the years, one of the things that I consider my major responsibility is to look after the people that I'm assigned to supervise. And you handed me 15 people, and I've become, I've developed some affection for them. I just want to make sure that we do for them whatever we possibly can as we're going through all of these changes, that's all.
Good request. Okay, anything else, Commissioner Harvey?
You know, when this whole thing kind of, took a different twist several weeks or months ago, the decision and the idea to bring Bob on, was easily supported. And then, Commissioner Bolos to perpetuate and continue to move that on. I can see that Bob Hunter now has put together, this is a good document and it shows a lot of work and time. But mostly to me, it shows the other step that's not usually prevalent in a report, and that's care. And I love the fact that Bob, this is nothing short of what I trust you, Bob. I sure respect and trust you, and you brought Jill here, which has always been in the back of my mind.
Yeah, and part of this is Jill's work.
Oh,
So,
absolutely is. And I just thank you for your service to not just the 15, but to the entire piece, and the three of you to also help with this too. It's just been great. Thank you. These things aren't always fun but it's good. Thank you for doing that.
you're welcome.
Anything else?
I
Commissioner Bowles?
don't have anything to add, unless, we just want to affirm the decision to move this. Then I think that's what Bob's looking for.
That's,
Yeah, I'd like to be able to talk to the employees tomorrow, don't you think? So that they've got a heads up.
well, we've had this discussion ongoing now for quite a while. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that's your recommendation. Do you have any problem with Bob's recommendation to take this to the health department?
I understand the recommendation, as it says here in writing, would be to move it to Weber Morgan Health, and I'm happy to support that
Happy, okay with that?
recommendation myself.
Okay, so that would be our decision.
Okay,
So I'm assuming that confirms the disposition that you're gonna talk about tomorrow with the COE, that we will be transferring that to the health department.
yeah,
In terms of the personnel, obviously, you're gonna have to get together with Emily and work through that.
and Michaela,
And then as far as your budget goes, part of that's gonna be, I know how this works. You could very well be coming back and asking us for an increase in your budget, so we'll be prepared for that when it happens. You won't surprise me when it happens.
Well, maybe just anticipate that we are asking for more money now. Always asking for more money.
May I,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Madam Commissioner? When this was first brought to the county 7 years ago, it was under Sean Slatter's group. And the idea from there morphed over into the COE. And it was always my understanding that grants would always outpace expenses. What's the thought? I mean, is that a possibility moving forward? At least match expenses. If it didn't outpace, it would always cover the costs. And so as we look, and I know you're gonna ask for more money, but I'd like to move towards 3 and 5 years from today. And I'd like this not to be an additional burden on taxpayers. And I use the word burden loosely, but maybe a challenge that grants can sustain this program in totality. I don't know if that was really a question or more of a statement, but I wanted you to hear that directly from me, because that's how this has always been sold to me. I don't mean to be a hard Eddie here. Affectionately, that takes the place of somebody here, but the county's in a lot of spaces. And this last 3 or 4 months, we've been working hard to really try to examine, are we statutorily obligated to be in this space? I mean, I know there's there's some civic responsibility and moral responsibility, but it's getting down to the nuts and bolts now, and are we statutorily obligated? So anything that we can do to bring this more to par would be appreciated from me.
When I, agree that, because I was part of that original discussion, as you guys know, that this was gonna be primarily, if not 100% at some point, grant funded. Anyway, it is what it is, but I also see if there's and this is, in my opinion, not a core service for the commission. It falls more in my mind on the health department in terms of providing community support. But I think there's a benefit if you can get the community partners, United Way, all these other we talked about, involved with that. There's a community expectation, a benefit that's justifiable in the county putting some resources into. But I can't have all those community partners come back and say, we can't deal with this. We're not included, not only we're not included, you're headed the wrong way. So I would hope that as we look at this, 6 months, 12 months from now, that we're getting good reports, communication, support from community partners, rather than just the opposite that we've seen the past 3 to 4 years.
I think we can orchestrate that.
So
I'm confident we can.
I think, Bob, you understand where I'm headed with that.
Yeah.
Well, the health department already has established relationships with so many of these partnerships or
I know.
partners in the community
Yeah.
that it's not outside of the scope of what we're already doing, so good relationships, right?
Yeah.
Good,
We're
no,
good.
and I think you probably have room for them in that annex, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
I always thought that, yeah.
all right. Bob, appreciate it. Jill, thank you.
It's not as much.
I'm excited about heading this way, Bob.
Okay, let me just give you a heads up. There is one position that we've all agreed doesn't need to be continued. And Emily is out of town. She's got her little boy at Legoland. I wish I were with her. She'll be back tomorrow and we'll immediately talk to her about the process of discontinuing that one position, and then that's something you don't even have to worry about, so.
Yeah, let's do that. So we'll go ahead and, as we look at our budgets, so we'll go ahead and anticipate that December 1st, we'll pretty much have an understanding of where we're headed. You okay with
I'm
that?
okay with that. To be that's what you'll communicate with the employees.
Yeah,
Okay, so I think we're good with that.
okay.
Great report.
Okay,
I'm gonna take a motion to saunter since I've got an 11:30 meeting until 12:30.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion, we're sauntering until 12:30. Take a motion to cease to saunter and start our,
Motion to
12:30
cease
meeting.
dishonor.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're now back in our work session. It's 12:30, October 16th. We're here to discuss Royce City, Marriott-Slaterville and Chromalox Interlocal Review. Stephanie Russell, Brandon Quinney's not with us. Chris Crockett will be here. John Bond, I don't see him in the room. Stephanie Ebert here and Scott Park. Okay,
Yeah,
Stephanie?
Yes,
Go ahead.
actually, it's actually gonna be Royce City and Marriott-Slaterville CRAs. The Chromalox one has already been adopted. So we have two interlocals for your consideration today. The first is Royce City's interlocal, and Rob Sant is here today to speak to that.
Rob, come up here to the table.
Thank you, commissioners. I'll be brief.
You want some soup?
I'm okay, thank you. So it probably came, maybe 2 months ago now?
Yeah.
To present this to you. Since then, we've successfully negotiated with every taxing entity, including the school district, for 70%, 20 years. Been working with Stephanie and Brandon on reviewing the interlocal and implementing all of your various comments and suggestions, which we've supported. It is capped. It will be 70%, 20 years. One thing to note that I mentioned to Stephanie is I went back. So they originally adopted this budget, I want to say in 2019. And then brought me on board about 6 months ago, and in reviewing the budget, realized it was a very old budget. So the budget that will be attached to the interlocal agreement is in draft form, which will be adopted at a public hearing, but we have to wait 30 days. But the budget just matches what's been negotiated in all the interlocal agreements.
What's the cap?
4 point something million, I want to say, off my head.
And so everybody's on the same 70%.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
44,227.
okay,
4,400,227.
4.4 million.
Oh, sorry, I'm full, I looked wrong.
4,000,000.
Yeah, 4.9, yeah, sorry.
4.9.
Yeah, and as a reminder, this will be, one of the big reasons for this is to provide Class A housing options for the Roy Innovation Center. That's something that Woodbury's been
Oh.
working a lot with. Northrop Grumman is a need.
Yeah,
And so that's one of the main reasons, plus just to revitalize and really improve and add hopefully more secondary office space to support the Northrop Grumman and the development that will happen as they have that contract over the next 20 years.
yeah. Well, you guys are in a great spot to make that happen.
Any questions?
Could happen in Roy. Questions, commissioners?
I've got a couple of questions.
Yes.
If I might. So I received the list of parcels, this morning from Stephanie
Okay,
that you sent over. And it seems like the list that's attached to your project area plan is incomplete.
okay,
The parcels don't match the mapped area.
okay.
So I'm wondering if we can maybe go through that or update that
Yep,
or
yep.
something like
So I'm actually
that.
working on that right now for the budget noticing.
Okay,
So I'll work on that and I'll send that to you before your meeting next week,
okay.
hopefully by today.
All right, yeah, that makes a big difference
Yeah.
on the base year
Yep,
amount.
yep.
And then there were a couple of parcels, I think a total of 4 parcels, only two had taxable value.
Okay.
That are still overlapping the city center
Okay.
CRA that's still active.
Okay, our plan is once this was adopted, that we'll go and amend that
Okay.
project area and pull whatever parcels are overlapping.
Okay,
So if you want to send me a list of what those are,
okay,
then we'll pull all 4, even the tax exempt ones.
okay,
That was just easier for you.
right, that would be great.
Yep.
And then the personal property as well.
Okay,
And then, Brandon Quinney had made a request or suggested that the centrally assessed verbiage comes out of that agreement.
which we're
And
great.
you're okay,
Yep.
okay. I mean, there were only a couple of
Yeah. we
really
understand it's
small
easier.
value.
Mhm, Yeah,
Okay,
that's great.
okay. Thank you.
Sounds like you got a little work to do, but
Yeah, I'll work on it today.
is
We'll have
there
it done.
centrally assessed in that project area?
There were 4 areas from Pacific Core,
Oh,
but I don't think that it was only total about $60,000 of taxable value, and I don't think that,
Yeah, we haven't
Okay.
included it in our,
all
my
right.
projections, so I'm great.
okay,
If it's easier for you.
great, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, if you'll just work with that, and
Yep.
Steph, you'll just let us know prior to that going on the agenda that
Yes.
you've got all your,
Yeah, and then we'll
T's
send you
crossed.
guys an updated, interlocal.
Yeah.
With the updated project area plan budget.
good.
And we did see, we noted that there were a couple of other overlapping areas in the original that have been dissolved, and we
Okay.
appreciate you doing that
Yeah,
for us.
perfect.
So thank you.
Thanks, Steph, for
Okay.
bringing that up. Rob, anything else?
That's it. Yep, I'll work with you and get that to you.
Okay, so
Next day or
pending the revised attachments. We would like to put this on the 24th agenda.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think if Rob gets all that, there's up those tax IDs and
Yep.
talks, get the centrally assessed out of there, we're good.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Great,
Thanks.
Rob.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, Marriott-Slaterville, or
looks like-
whichever one you
Yeah,
want.
it's Marriott-Slaterville.
Okay.
So, Marriott-Slaterville has submitted, gone through the same process, with, that, Roy City has, and they put together an interlocal, and the interlocal tax increment, it would be 50% of the taxing entity's portion, for a total of 10 consecutive years. The cap on that is, $202,000. And this is for their project area that is, they're calling it the Cooperation Act, let's see. That's on the first page, give me 1 second. This is the, Community Investment Agency, Marriott-Slaterville, the project area is, why can I not find it? Oh, here it is, Central Business District East Community Reinvestment Survey Area. And most of this funding, is going to be going towards sewer infrastructure.
17th Street.
Yeah.
This
it's
is
like-
17th Street.
Yeah, and almost all of it's going towards sewer infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think 50% what we got, they got out of the sewer district too. is that-
Yeah, they've passed through all the districts, school, and all of the other districts, fire,
Okay.
and it's all 50 at 10. They stay
Okay.
for 50 at 10 for all the districts.
Okay,
So they're requesting to have a vote on the 24th as well.
Good, put it on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Comments from the team?
If I could editorialize, the Marriott-Slaterville RDA is like the template model of a,
You wanna, I know you wanna give them an extra 20%. No,
Oh,
everybody.
yeah, so Scott has a very important comment.
I'm
today.
just saying this Marriott-Slaterville template is, it's like the template, the model of like what I would like all CRAs to look like in the future. It's a very reasonable request. It's a very narrow, I mean, it's just like everything we could possibly have wanted them to do, they've done, and Doug, working with Doug was great. He's got all these parcels, right, ironed out, perfect, so.
Good.
It's good, as in Doug does a good job on this.
No, I agree. And this is a model that if we're coming up with a policy, which we should do that.
And that's actually transitioning into my next,
Oh,
little.
Commissioner
little blip.
Harvey, you seem to have
My next little,
heartburn with.
my
No,
next little
50%.
blip
No,
is
no,
that,
no.
Quinny and I have been working on our CRA policy, and we've got a draft that we're running through our committee on Friday. So we'll have draft coming to you guys very, very shortly.
50-10 sounds pretty good to me.
And it's, these can be negotiated, but it sets a baseline and it sets a standard for, not just the numbers. There's gonna be some reporting requirements involved in the future. So you're gonna have to show that you did spend that on what you said you were gonna spend it on, and you kept it within the CRA and you didn't move it around, and it didn't go into a developer's pocket just because it can. Quinny and I have been working on that last couple months, and we'll be bringing those policies to you shortly.
Well, don't we ask for some type of follow-up once with the CRAs where the money's spent or not?
So we have some loose reporting requirements.
Yeah, but we don't have a policy.
But we don't actually, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, we don't dedicate much staff time to follow up on that either. We're more concerned with administering the taxes and everything like that as opposed to following up. We don't have enough bandwidth, nor we'd have to get the information from the CRAs as
So
well.
we trust them that they're doing.
They're supposed to be subject to an audit by their auditors, as we're subject to audits by our auditors. And so, I mean, that's the control, but I don't know how.
But the
I've never
state
been asked.
statute,
Yeah.
the state statute is so loose.
How did we let that slip through, John Bond? You're in charge of the money.
Let's
Come
talk
on.
about this and get things changed.
Yeah, that's why we'd like to implement some policy, because the
I
state.
know every
statute
city
is
out
loose.
there is,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
had no intention of not using it in other sources.
You know, we have a couple that we do get annual data on, for example, South Ogden's on the
Right.
mall, those type of things, and it's the allowance or the amount that we pay them is based on reports that they send us on how much they sold and everything else. So we get those specifics.
Right.
And so we do that on an annual basis with that one specifically, but others we don't have as much back, you know, people sending us information on, so.
I think if there are RDAs, we have more follow-up, and right now we only have one, the summer.
Right.
If they, in other cities, we don't have as much oversight.
Their data is available to us. Everybody has to report to a state database now. And so we can pull a lot of good information from it, but what do we do with it? That's the real question.
So one of the things that we're suggesting, there's actually gonna be two different policies. One is the policy for the county's CRAs, which the county issues. The other is for the ones that the county is gonna be participating in. And some of those policy pieces will go into our participation interlocal. That'll be things like clawbacks, deadlines, reporting standards that we want to see. If we're going to participate, we want to see this from you. So that'll be a little more detailed than just what we're doing as a CRA. So there'll actually be two policies that you guys would be reviewing and voting on.
Okay. All right, great. Good to know.
And thus conclude.
That's it?
Us conclude.
Did we talk about Chromalox?
Chromalox is
already done.
already
So-
executed, yeah.
All right, we did that one, didn't we?
Yeah, so we're gonna be going into their 30-day advertising period to adopt their project area plan and budget. But
Okay.
that's a 30-day review process.
When's their grand opening or when?
That will be on the 24th, so, yeah. We're into the paperwork part of the
All right,
process.
cool.
And, I don't know if Jessica got in touch with you or not, but we do have you speaking at the grand opening.
That's, I got word of that, yeah.
Okay, good.
Not a boy.
Well, I don't know, we've got, Mr. ABC News right here, so maybe
Oh, All right, well, that can be a fight and arm wrestle between the two of you.
Listen, we've decided that Gage will do all the speaking from here on out.
Wow,
Wow,
what voice.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anything else, Steph?
No, that's,
Watch out,
that's
Lynn
it.
Allen.
Yeah.
We'll get these on your agenda for next week.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, John Bond, it's happy days every time you show up. You had any good words of wisdom or,
No, sir, but I'll be back at 2:15.
okay, what about the tax relief? That's kind of your alley. Tax relief program,
Tax reliefs, Ricky.
Ricky,
Yep,
okay.
I like to share.
I'll be back at 2:50.
Just for your edification, the tax notices hit about an hour ago.
Oh, here we go.
They hit what?
They hit the community, mailboxes, people are
It could be
calling.
in my mailbox right now?
We've actually got we got 5 people have already paid already, so yes.
So they got their notice, they brought in a check today?
Yes. Yeah, we got 5 people
That's
already.
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you had any calls?
So we've got a group that's received theirs electronically.
Not yet.
2,500 people have received theirs electronically and the rest are all being mailed, receiving today, tomorrow, and the phones have started to ring. So far, it looks like the data that we pulled off the Lisa and her group at IT did a wonderful job rewriting all of our tax program over the last couple of years that launched live about middle of August,
Where people could pay online?
where the entire tax program for all of our offices, for at least us and the clerk auditor, was all rewritten.
Oh,
It was a major rewrite.
Hmm.
So we pulled all the data for the tax notice as well as the website off that new programming.
oh,
We
wasn't aware of
were,
that.
we were just waiting to see how it went, and so far, so good. It
wow. That's a major,
was a big deal. We've been a little nervous.
but so far it's been good.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Good.
Yeah.
That was the program that was approved, I think, 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Because our old system was on this old Oracle software that was out of date, not being updated anymore. And we only had, 2 people left in the county that we knew how to use it,
Wow.
It was a little
So-
nerve wracking.
like the program
Anyway.
back end. So yeah. that's
So today's a good day again, so.
Cool. All right.
Today is a good day.
Thanks,
I'm
JB.
glad to hear that. You were a little worried on. I'm glad to know it's a good day.
So Brandon's out cleaning elk. Did you see if Ricky's out there when you're on your way out? Yes, sir.
Is that a conference that Lynn was planning?
I got my e-notice at 10:07.
You're not staying for this, Scott? Tax relief?
He's not.
I don't provide relief for tax.
Well, but,
Ricky Hatch does, and that's Lynn Taylor's
yeah, all right.
area. I don't
Didn't want you to feel left out.
Oh, no. I'll be back a little earlier than you will.
Then 2:15?
Yeah.
You have a question, I can answer this one.
Sure.
Oh, thanks for everything. You too.
Is the sheriff coming today?
I haven't heard, but let me find out. We might be able to finish early.
That'd be nice.
Let me ask him.
Ask.
They had a big swearing in ceremony today for 15 graduates from the.
From what?
He didn't tell me about it until 5 minutes before it
Post?
started.
For
From
post.
Post, yeah,
Post?
15 post graduates.
Well, that means he's adding some
That's
people.
huge.
That's,
Well, they're probably already working there, to be honest.
oh, they just got their
Yeah.
certification or whatever it was. Mark, you gotta have full of this soup. Pretty good.
Apple is very
It
tasty.
is good. 3 o'clock.
You get some bread?
That's what I shouldn't have had.
That nutty one, I know it, I like that
That's
nutty.
what I had.
I feel stuffed now because of that bread. A bowl of soup would have been fine.
The nutty bread is really
So
good.
good. Look what I'm drinking, Jim. Inspired me.
Oh, I thought you were the squirt gal.
I do, it's Fresca is my favorite, but I actually do like the squirt
I
a
do.
little better than the Fresca. But once in a while I have this, but I usually like to have it over ice.
I'm like, yeah, well, I usually.
I like Fresca in a can, but Sky Coke is over ice.
They're good. Look at Gage,
I always have one of each in my fridge.
refreshing.
You converted me to these.
Do you like that better than Fresca? I think it
haven't had a
tastes
Fresca in
better.
a long
I
time.
think it tastes better than Fresca.
As I remember, I could take or leave Fresca. This is actually pretty good. So the sheriff's coming?
No, you didn't reply yet.
All right, we'll call Kelly back.
Kelly,
Oh, he is.
how's he doing?
He's doing pretty good.
How's his health?
He's still coming back slow but sure.
Good.
Hopefully his vision starts getting a little better. That's
He is.
what I'm most
He's
worried
coming.
about.
He's coming.
Sheriff's coming.
You'll be gone.
I'll be gone.
If we could speed things up, we could be done by 2:30.
What are we waiting on today?
We got Mountain View subdivision. That's one. Hey, what's up?
I'm seeing how you're doing.
We're doing good. Harvey's been all worried
Right,
about you.
I'm right here.
He's here.
Cal, how you doing, buddy?
We just got back from, Julian, it's a little mountain town in, just, by San Diego, up in the hills there.
You went to Juneteenth?
Julian, a town called Julian.
Julie,
Oh, Julian.
Julie.
That's in Southern California, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful there. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you made it back.
Yeah, we rented a Tesla, Harvey.
You did? Which
Isn't it?
one? A Model 3?
It costed us $100 in, power charges. So those liberals, they're going for all this electronic stuff, so we had to test it out.
You didn't go down with your rainbow, tennis shoes on, did you?
No, not quite.
You liked the car though, didn't you?
Lynn is on his way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
God, it's so cheap. I mean, the $7 a gallon down there, you almost have to.
Holy
$7 a
mackerel.
gallon.
In
Wow.
my truck, $40 to fill. I mean, that would have been $500 to fill up, Harv.
I know it.
Yeah,
You know, my truck's electric. I love it.
that's a great,
Yeah,
I love it.
I may have to switch over here.
You know what? It doesn't cost me but $60 a month in electricity.
Is that what it charges?
$60 a month.
Is that on a separate meter?
Harvey,
Yo,
so I recovered from my stroke. Real estate with the interest rates, I'm not doing much. I need a job from you, dude.
okay. I got my son out digging tree holes today. You wanna come and help him?
Not today, but I need a full time.
Oh,
I'll be coming to the county and I'll make you proud.
you always have. You always have made me
I'll
proud.
make everybody more proud now that I'm off this,
You got his attention.
I think you ought to go, to post. I think you ought to go to post.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
He'd be really good, cause he's so good with the people.
All right, yeah, let's get that done.
You live out west? Yeah. You must have, cause I saw you. out
Yeah, well, I'll go through with
Turning west on
HR. see what we can do.
the other day. Well, it was probably
Yeah,
Friday.
okay.
Going home from work.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, I need to get that happening.
That's a weirdo intersection out there.
Which one?
One that you served by Lucas.
He is? Okay.
So, the tax relief program policy, several years ago, the policy was really just kind of a how-to guide on how to process papers, which wasn't super useful. So we turned this policy into a one-stop shop that references state codes, state tax commission standards of practice. So if anybody says, well, why do you guys have to do it this way? We just go to the policy and that tells us where it is. It's got code references and everything. So last year, with the shuffling around of the deferral program, a lot of things got renumbered. There are also a couple of things that came out of state tax commission hearing decisions that we've now clarified in here. So I run it by the attorneys. Quinny was great in helping to make sure all the numbers were good. So in the summary, the only really big, and they're not even big things that we're changing, the legislature established that a veteran with a 100% service-connected disability can get pre-approval for the tax relief program before they actually own the home. And the reason this is important is when they're determining the escrow payments.
Yeah,
If they're
that's a big
approved,
deal.
yeah, if they're approved for it, then the escrow payments can be less. Because they're not gonna pay that much in taxes. Everybody else, we can't really give them approval on the program until they own the home, and then they just get refunded.
Okay, so that's the one under section 2.2.
Right, so we're clarifying that that's the veterans with 100% service-connected disability can do that. And then also, we used to differentiate, so this is on the 5.2 and 6.2, for circuit breaker and the hardship indigent abatement. We, for a while, were having a distinction if if they were renting, they weren't considered a homeowner for income purposes.
Right.
There was a hearing that the state tax commission gave a ruling on that even renters are considered household members for
Interesting.
income purposes. So we got rid of that part of the policy. We just got rid of that. Whether they're a renter or not, we need income.
Yeah.
So we're
Okay.
just clarifying that for those two. And then the only other changes are just updating the numbering throughout the whole thing, since the numbers have shifted over the last couple of years since we last updated it.
Any big changes in the circuit breaker?
Nope,
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
pretty much the same program that it has been. They increase the amount a little bit every year. Last year, they just about doubled the amount for veterans.
Wow. Did they?
Yeah, it was like 250,000 and they jumped it to almost 500,000.
Hmm.
For the maximum limit for 100%, like the taxable value that can get reduced.
So it's up to 500,000 now?
Just as like 497.
Yeah.
So if you're 100% disabled and your value of the property is 497, you do all the math and it comes out to 100% of the taxes get waived.
Wow.
So that was a big deal.
Does the state reimburse us for any of that?
They,
I forget.
right offhand, I know circuit breaker, they do abatement, they do not. I don't know that they do for the veteran. I think just circuit breaker.
I knew they did for the circuit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they do for the veterans.
Okay, good. What else?
That was it. Just so and I checked with Quinny, if it's all right with you all, we'll just put this as a consent item.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to
Okay.
debate and there's.
Changes,
almost-
corrections?
Almost a non-issue.
Support.
Good. And that was it. Just so when that shows up, if you're okay doing it as a consent item, when it shows up as a consent,
Yeah,
that's the changes.
I don't see any problem with that. Yeah, okay, great, Lynn.
Okay,
Thank you.
that was all I had.
You're gonna get points, style points for being brief. That's
Look,
good.
he's done before he's even
Right, to be
supposed to
I
start.
know it.
3 minutes before you're supposed
Wow.
to start.
I don't know how we're gonna give you that many points.
All righty. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank
all.
you.
Hey, will you tell, Christie out there, we're ready for Felix and that group?
Okay, will do.
We don't have a lot of All right, here we go.
Motion to leave closed session? No motion to leave, motion to cease dishonor?
Okay, we have-
Second.
all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're now back in live session. This is a 115 discussion regarding amendments to the Smart Fields Development Agreement allows for placement of 60-foot wide right of way on select neighborhood roads within Smart Fields Subdivision. Felix is with us. Charlie, where's Charlie?
He's out today.
He's off today. Rick's not here. And Mr. Dave Rose.
John Hall, I moved Dave Rhodes.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Felix.
Yes, so this is a quick discussion I'd like to have, just to kind of bring everybody up to speed with the very latest version of this development agreement.
Okay.
And so this was already actually previously approved during a public hearing with the county commission. And we didn't actually get to the recording yet because there were some final changes we wanted to make. And that's kind of what we're gonna work through today really quickly. These changes that were made to the approved development agreement are pretty minor, but just following the recommendation of the county attorney, we just wanted to make sure that everything was clear and you guys are up to date on the very latest. So I'm just gonna scroll through these areas. I've highlighted
Felix, give me the bearings approximately where this is again, will you?
Yeah, so this is out in the Western Weaver area and I wanna say it's, what's the address roughly?
1800, well, just about 1800 and 4300 west, 1800 south, 4300 west.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm. And what it is a development, well, rezone portion on, how many acres is that? Do you remember?
There's the two portions. I don't.
I wanna say like 25 acres.
Yeah.
So yeah, what they're looking to do is rezone it from A1 to R115.
okay.
And so.
With all due respect, gentlemen,
Yes.
isn't this the one we talked about where they took the density off this piece of property and moved it over to another one?
No.
That's a different
Yeah,
project.
I don't think so.
We didn't do that.
You remember what us
I
talking
know what you're
about
talking
that?
That was Halcyon Estates.
Halcyon, okay, thank you.
No, different.
Yep.
So
Really close.
was this subdivision approved as an A1? Or is it?
This, they applied for it, but they didn't actually go through to recording.
All right,
And I think in between getting those approvals, they
all
just,
right, got it.
yeah.
How does this fit in with our general plan?
So it fits in well with the future land use map, showing this is kind of the medium density area,
Okay.
which is much as, yeah. And then also, we also looked at road connectivity, and that's part of
Yeah,
the amendments that we're gonna touch on quickly.
so you've got the changes in red here,
That's right,
okay? Go
yes.
ahead.
So the project description, basically 81 detached family, single family dwellings together with any common areas to be developed on the project site. That's just basically under definitions.
How many acres did you tell me again? Was that average at 15,000?
It does.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
that's my question. Okay,
Now, going on to the next one here, basically just these three words here. So the parties intended that the rights granted to developer under this agreement are contractual and also include all of those rights that exist under statute.
okay,
So maybe just added clarity. And then this one here where it says 15 feet. That's really just the site development standards for the R115 zone.
Okay.
So that will be really easy for us to apply. And then just adding some more details as far as, rather than saying 1725S, we just put in South Street to make it consistent throughout.
Well, there's that Halcyon.
Mhm.
It's adjacent, and this is 29.6 acres. Is what the.
29.6,
Yes.
Gage.
okay, got it.
One thing to also mention is that the right of way widths, and so the width of 1700 South Street shall be 60 feet. And so what this does is it makes some adjustments to the right of way widths from the previous, because the previous said that it was gonna be 66 feet throughout for all those interior roads, but there's gonna be some variation. So 1600 South will be 66 feet wide. And then the remainder neighborhood, the interior neighborhood streets will be 60-foot wide right of ways. And that way, this more clearly reflects what is shown on the concept plan that's attached.
Okay,
And then, yeah, here it just kind of reiterates the streets and their right-of-way widths. You can see here, it mentions the width of 1600 South Street and also 4300 West Street. Which being that these are collector streets, they're a little bit wider, the 80 feet, and then neighborhood collectors around 80 feet, and then the 66 is for another collector, a neighborhood collector. So going on to the next redlined area, push button flashing sign shall be placed at the crossing of 4300 West Street and 1700 South Street, and that's just indicating the intersection where the flashing sign will be placed.
okay,
Once we work down a little bit to the concept. And then you've got also this little landscape changes. So I think the developer's intention here is for him to be able to make changes to the landscaping guide without having to come back to amend the development agreement. Because the landscape guide is attached to this development agreement, but it does make sense why, if for instance, they want to be able to include some other options with, the residential landscaping for this area. So that's kind of what that pertains to. Any questions on that particular one?
so you've got the guide, so you just basically say these are what's permitted, they come back to you as long as it's within those permitted uses.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
got it, okay,
Then going down to. Let's go down a little bit further. Well, that's really all the text that's being changed. But I'll also just kind of a little more context to show you the concept. So a little more clear after those discussions. So you've got, where my cursor is, you've got 1600 South. That one's gonna be 66 feet right of way width. And then these little interior neighborhoods, those will be 60. And then you've got 4300 West, that's going to be 80.
got it,
So,
okay,
and then keep going. Oh, they also provided with us, these road cross sections are a little more up to date. They put the street trees in there. And they've also included the cross sections for all of those right of ways.
okay, go back to that previous, let's look back at that plat again. So is it an 80-foot right of way now?
Yeah, it's 66.
So it's gonna go to 80,
Yep.
and then I'm assuming they're responsible for all the improvements.
Yes. Yeah, you've got right of way dedication.
How
and then
much
you've got
asphalt?
Right of way improvements.
I'm not sure on asphalt.
I wanna say it's just you could look right there, I guess, in our cross section down there, huh?
Yep.
Or is it 32, 30, maybe 30 or 32?
So does that leave us, so my question, does that leave a section of that road that's not 80 foot? Going to say an intersection? That's the same issue we had with the previous.
You mean to the south there?
Yeah, well, where's the nearest?
The nearest intersection would be.
1800?
18, yeah,
Mhm.
there to the south. But was your question about, the same, Brad Brown?
Yeah,
scenario about
yeah.
Anselmi?
Yeah, this is,
So 4300 West is not substandard,
okay,
and so.
all right,
They would just improve it as shown in the development agreement that Felix was showing us, the cross section, everything that's adjacent to
all right.
what these guys own.
So it's not a substandard road now.
All right, we wouldn't expect them to do any more than just their frontage.
Okay, all right, that answers my question. Thanks.
Okay, and then going on to this one's just showing the connectivity of roadways. It's basically the same plan. And then here's their landscape guide. So I think they would occasionally, they would make some minor edits, as you can see there. They plan on, in that area in red, once hired, HOA property managers contact information shall be inserted here, so. Little amendments and changes are anticipated with something like this.
Okay.
Which is perfectly normal and just fine.
Yeah, and centered around waterwise principles and native shrubbery that's, consistent with what you're moving forward with as a county.
Okay. So what are you looking for? Just approval on the interlocal?
So yeah, that's really what we're looking for tomorrow. I have this.
Is it on the
item
agenda?
On the agenda is a consent item, and if that's appropriate for you, or we could discuss it further during the meeting tomorrow. Whatever you would like to do, but yeah, that's what we'd like to do, is just get this amendment through for your approval and work on that.
Got it. Commissioner Bolos,
I
questions?
don't have any.
You okay with that consent? Commissioner Harvey? All right, looks like you got a deal.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that was tough.
I know.
And Candy.
Right.
Candy. These did business in Weaver County. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Felix. Thanks, Steve. Is Rick around today?
He's not, he's off today.
Is he?
Yeah.
Will him or Charlie be back tomorrow? Or?
They both should be here tomorrow.
Can we just have Rick and maybe let Charlie? Never mind.
All right. I'll chat out tomorrow.
Cool.
Okay,
Hopefully they're out there enjoying this nice weather.
I'll say,
Some of us like that.
okay, that takes us to another
Closed session. How come Rod's involved with that?
This must be the-
lease agreement.
Is everybody here?
No?
Unless Rod's out there, I don't know.
He.
We missed a Scott.
1:45.
Maybe if he's early, we could bump him, keep bumping.
If you want,
Keep bumping.
I'm able to handle the item if you want.
On the closed session? Okay,
Yeah, but
You-
we can also wait for him.
so we don't need Rod or anybody else? Is this still with the CJC?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll need a motion to go into closed session then.
Motion to move from work session to closed session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're in closed
Wait,
session.
excuse me, to discuss
Oh, yeah.
Real estate, lease agreement.
real estate lease. Okay, I'll amend my motion to include that.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're now in closed session.
See you later.
Call me when you're done. Okay.
Thanks.
Do they think it's a? Oh, they might. They might.
Well, Christie called me that morning.
Good afternoon. Jane, Miranda, Roy, seats here? Sure, why not? You gotta have save one for John Bond.
Roy?
Hi. Got things for you. Sign.
He's always
Did you
giving,
see that?
it's always giving me money.
Wow, I noticed I didn't get one of those.
No, just,
Only special people.
yeah.
Can I share good news?
What's that?
Can I share good news?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
You know, we put a piece in the paper saying that we were going to be maybe doing sewers in Eden, and if we got the funding, and, you know, this is what was going on, and we got the pumping stations, yada, yada. And we set up an email account for people to send emails. No comments whatsoever, everybody's fine.
No comment?
No, no comments, no negative comments whatsoever.
Huh, who wrote that one?
I did,
Did you? Okay,
Oh,
good.
well, the one that's got the,
Yeah,
the, even sewer service area.
Okay.
so no,
That's a.
no, social media
Result.
hype or,
None.
That one seems to be
okay, interesting.
controversial.
That's what happened the last time. We set that account up a year ago, when I put in a previous article saying we were looking at things like this. Didn't get any comments that time either. It does work, I've checked.
Yeah.
It's good news.
Okay, Scott, who are we waiting for? Besides John Bond.
John Bond, I think, is our only one.
He was answering a number of phone calls resulting
Yeah.
in having sent out
He-
100,000.
Oh, yeah.
He just said they hit today, so
Yeah, they.
are you ready, Scott?
I am, I'm happy to start if you'd like, Commissioners, and John's aware of this first part anyway, so.
John will come in, so let's go ahead and start our 2 o'clock. Appreciate everybody moving it up a little bit. This is a prioritization of ARPA funds. Scott Park, John Bond will be with us, Brooke Stewart's with us. Is Linnell coming? Linnell Jensen, Gary Myers, not here, and Sean Wilkinson. And then we have some members of the public here that will be asked to participate as we get to that point. So Scott, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do the quick reminder of where we are at with ARPA. So we have $50 million in change that came in. These are the projects that have already been approved in their status. So this is the Weaver Housing Authority project, CJC project, revenue replacement, and so on down the list. You can see which projects we've done. And what we want to focus.
Hold on, just go a little slower.
Okay.
Okay.
Do one of those.
Yeah.
So you can see most of these
Okay.
projects are in process. There's a few that are not yet started, but most of them are in process. And then the ones that I've got in this little box right here, and they say no agreement. So I've just got some placeholder here for amounts, but we actually do not have any formalized agreements with these three. So in July-ish or so, we had tentatively come to a conclusion that there would be $8 million that went for the Wolf Creek Water Improvement Sewer District, and then also what we were calling the Eden Service Area. And that was, so the $8 million in this, I believe, was the split that those two entities decided would be the appropriate split. And
Does
then we
that,
had,
hold on, Scott, does that number still work?
Yes,
The
sir.
split, I should say.
It was actually decided, Gary Myers was the one who adjudicated.
Okay, all right. So there's no disagreement on the
No,
split?
sir.
no.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
And then we had initially kind of put $1 million out there for Powder Mountain. We didn't really know at that time exactly what the scope of the work would be. We've had some discussions since then. We've received a couple of different applications since then. And I think Sean wants to talk about that. So where we're at now, though, is that we have, if we were to continue to fund them at $1 million or $1.2 million, really what we have left is $2.3 million. That would be our contingency. And anything we wanted to sweep in through the revenue replacement to provisions of government services. So my argument would be, commissioners, at this point, after we finalize these three amounts as to what you want to get for each of those areas, if you would allow me to sweep the rest of that into the revenue replacement, and I will wait to sweep that until the end of the year, end of next year. If we need to come back and pull some of that for contingency because one of these projects go over, I would say we could. But at this point, we would say ARPA is spent. It's completely allocated. And, you know, we can revisit if we need to pull some out of that revenue recovery for contingency, but otherwise it's all revenue recovery. There's no contingency left. Does that make sense?
I agree,
Just so
but
we can show
we'd
us all.
hold that until end of 2024.
Make sure we
Yes.
don't need it.
Just
Just
to
to make sure we don't need it, but if we don't need it, we just sweep it into revenue recovery. If we do need it, we can claw back a little bit, but I still would represent to everybody and in all of our filings to the feds that we have fully allocated all of our ARPA dollars.
perfect. Okay,
Scott, I've got a question, Mr. Chair.
yeah,
So some of these go up again. Go up, keep going up. So not yet started. If, for instance, a couple of those at the top, and we know the number, that one's gonna get going. We know the ninth and wall get going, but if there's some of these others that don't finish in the proper timeline, do we have enough margin going down to line number 25 that we can justify that up to? Very good, thank you.
I can take
Answered
up
my
yes.
question.
So up to 8.6, and if for some reason we had $10 million, let's just say all the projects get delayed, they're in process, they don't get finished. we have a couple of other vendors that we could go back that have completed projects like, Taylor West Weaver. Bonnie
Taylor
Vista,
West Weaver.
that we could go back and say, we know you've completed ARPA eligible projects, we'll, instead of just losing the money, we'll give it to you. So we do have like a plan.
And they're checking every quarter. You ask for an update every quarter,
Yes.
so they're not gonna get to the middle or
I just
middle
want
of
to,
twenty twenty-four.
I don't want to send this back to Washington
Right.
DC.
Oh,
We have options A, B, and C. I think would be fine to spend it all
Okay.
appropriately.
It's not going back to your friends back there, sorry. Okay, Scott, anything else?
No, so that's kind of where we're at. So Sean, you want to talk about Powder Mountain if you're ready?
So Sean, Brooke, yeah, I'd like, this is not new information.
Hmm.
And I think we've all had a number of discussions. Sean, you've looked at this as well as anybody.
Yes,
What's your recommendation?
so commissioners, we have received a new application from Powder Mountain clarifying what their ask is. I know we've had some meetings in the past where some numbers have been thrown out. We did receive an actual application. The request at that time was for $7 million. What that was for is to refurbish the lagoons, the existing lagoons, which we feel like is a good thing to do. So that would include building some freeboard on some of the lagoons, putting in a valve system that allows lagoons to drain into each other so they can control where that effluent goes or where the inflow goes and solve some problems if one of the lagoons has too much in it. Also improving the access. Last year, when we had 6 feet of snow on the ground, there were some problems. They didn't have good access. We feel like those are all good things that this money could be spent on. The estimate that came in for that part of the project in this most recent application was in the neighborhood of about $700,000 to $800,000. That does not include any mobilization costs, so we'd have to include some of that. We feel like the 1.2 million that was discussed back in July is probably a good number. Now, I will say, we have had discussions with Roy, and when I talked to him on Thursday, John Bond and I had a meeting with Roy. He said $2 million would be more in the range of what they were looking for. I understand there was a subsequent discussion with John Bond, and that number is $3 million that they would be asking for. I wasn't part of that, so I don't know if you'd like to ask Powder Mountain, they have representatives here that could give you some of those cost estimate details. But based on the original application, we feel like the 1.2 million that was talked about back in July is an appropriate number.
Okay. All right, well, if you look at rehab existing loans on their own, I'm assuming this is your engineer. That's
Yes.
less than $1 million right there, so where did the 3 million come from?
Well, so if you, let's see, so if, is that the right?
So this is the one we received with the application and said just recently, and this is $700,000 right here,
Yeah.
plus whatever your share of mobilization costs would be. This is the most recent cost estimate that we have received.
Zoom up or down or?
Which way?
Just, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so the one that we talked about, we sent over the most recent one, John, that you and Sean and I talked about, that's definitely not this one. We'd actually proposed one that seemed like it made better sense, which was focused strictly on the sewer lagoons and fixing those. There's some other things in this one, which is.
To this point, you said you were gonna send me something, I think, Thursday afternoon,
Yeah,
but I never got anything.
We did never receive a cost estimate.
So maybe that, do you have that available?
I do. Yeah.
That would be great.
Bring that forward, maybe we should just look at that while we get a second here, but we.
Who
should I send it to?
S-
What email address?
S is in Scott, B is in Paul, ARKE is in Edward, at weavercountyutah.gov. Sparky with an E.
So I did follow up with that, but I never got that after we talked on Thursday.
Okay, yeah, I thought that was simple, bro.
Sent. But there were some modifications on that. We, part of the discussion was that the ARPA funds would go to just some existing issues that we were faced with rather than some of these other items. And so we've kind of whittled that down a little bit so that it just focuses on the sewer lagoons and access into and out of. And so here's the application that, I apologize, it didn't get to where it needed to go at the end,
It
but
may be on our
this is it.
side, because we've had a funny week with emails.
We'll blame it on that.
Well, there was a big Microsoft thing going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, the $3 million is the number there. Continue down to the spreadsheet that has all that green and. So there it is right there. So all those improvements there listed under 2.0 are improvements to the sewer lagoons, piping, seismic retrofit, the tow drains, tree removal, things like that. In an effort basically to tide over those sewer lagoons for the next few years, giving mobilization contractors some profit, some contingency there at the bottom, for a total of $3.8 million.
Okay, and how much of that are you putting in?
We're doing, right now about $1 million we've got, so it's, by the way, the land, we did acquire that, that'll come up in board meeting, that, so that was a big deal for us to have that, to make sure we.
Bob just, yeah, that's.
Yeah, and then we've got impact fees and as well as loan monies, but we'll probably be at about $1 million.
Okay.
That's, just so you know, that was, those lagoons, they weren't always owned by the district. They were on a lease.
Right.
You know, but that now you're saying that deal's done.
Yeah, so literally, as soon as the board authorizes that, it's looks like the attorneys have agreed on it, but that's huge, and that gives us
That's
another
been
48.
7 years trying to get that deal done, and it's nice to finally have that done.
Yeah, so for reuse and or future as we wait for a treatment plant to be built, and that gives us a place to go and to manage growth for that period of time, then they become reused ponds.
Okay.
Or for other purposes, but again.
So they do become, that was my other question, and just to make sure, so they'd be rehabbed now, but they would eventually become reuse ponds higher on the hill that could be shared with, you know, my whole deal is to get everybody together here.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so you'd have another source of storage.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Sean, have you got a recommendation or?
Well, Commissioners, based on what I had seen previously, we had a discussion about the 2 million.
Right.
Now that I see this, it's all within those existing lagoons. We feel like refurbishing those lagoons is a good project. How much money gets put towards that is your decision. So they're asking now for about 3 million or a little bit more than that. Originally, we had said we have 1.2 to go towards that. If that number is somewhere in that range, we feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah. Okay, John, what's your opinion? I mean, the only problem I have with this is, you know, we've been going on this for now a long time. Can't remember, it's been too damn long. But it's always been the 1.2, and now we're showing this. We've turned away several applications the last 6 months that have come to it just because we're committed down that road. So I'm not comfortable. You know, I'm probably comfortable with that 1.2, possibly 1.5, but 3 million is, my opinion, too much too late. You know, I don't know. Miranda, what's your take as far as the money you guys will be putting in percent wise versus this project?
I think having a reliable lagoon system is a really, really good thing. The fact that they own it now is a really, really, really good thing. Because I still believe that putting a plant where the infrastructure leads to will save a lot of money. And these tasks, I'm sure, with all due respect to the engineer, he's been given a very short period of time to come up with prices. You don't really know what the price is going to be until you put it out to bid and you actually get a signed contract with a contractor. But having a lagoon system that is more resilient in the face of the wide variations we get, I think is a huge benefit. And I would support their application to make that a more reliable system.
Okay.
So my take on it would be to prioritize the pieces and put it out to bid that way and spend the money that's available. If that's 1.2, then that's great. If you gentlemen can be more, excuse me, Commissioner, but if the commissioners can be more generous, then that's helpful too. But this is to deal with the sewage coming from Preserve and
Right.
Powder Mountain. What's on the rest of the list is the bottom of the valley, where we're talking literally hundreds of units and thousands of units.
Well, I guess that's my question. First off, I don't think we have a lot more room to be generous. So if anybody's gonna be generous, it's gonna probably come out of any allocation to you. So is this more important than your project?
I find it hard to say that when the 1.7 million we're asking for the reuse, that's going to benefit our 1,200 customers.
Okay,
And the money for the sewers in Eden, I regard that as really important in order to get the basis for service in a commercial area so that that village area can move forward. That's 60 businesses that are going to be served. I think there are more lots than that too that have not yet been developed, partly because of the lack of sewers in that area.
okay. So it's safe to say that under the proposal that you're submitted, that we would be benefiting existing customers, not necessarily those in the future, which would include the existing businesses, possibly any residents that would be in that new town
Well, you're
area.
benefiting they have septic system. I
Right.
don't know how many of those are failing. They have residents in the assisted living, but all of that sewage to the tune of 15 to 20,000 gallons a day is currently going into the ground down to Pine.
No, that's,
And that's a different animal. This is further up the valley, longer time of travel.
no, I get that. Okay. All right. John Bond, have you got a recommendation or?
If I take a step back, our goal was to try and impact as much as we could. And I think that's what you're trying to balance now. Roy's proposal here is good. I mean, Miranda's is also, but I think you have to look at what is the overall immediate impact. And I think that the ARPA money was to generate discussion. Has that been successful? Very. And I think that you have to look at the big picture and say, have a lot of discussions been had? A ton have been, and I appreciate a lot of that going forward, is because when you looked at this a year ago, those discussions weren't being explored. There's more and more of this information coming. Well, I think that was, when you look at the ARPA, it was a goal was to get these discussions going, to simply ignite discussion and a little bit of help. And I think the more you can help on this ARPA money, the better. And so when you start, it was interesting a minute ago to say, is your project on the valley floor here with those businesses and others more important than lagoons? And how much money have you got to spend and budget? You're in this hard rock spot. You've got experience because you're up there in all these meetings. I have not been in the meetings with Powder Mountain. You have been. But I think the more you help, the larger the impact, the more you encourage these discussions to be had, helps. But and I'm just kind of like generally summarizing where we've been for the last year in this discussion, because it's probably coming down to a head right now and saying, what do we do? Well, I think the biggest impact is in the valley floor right now, this second. But I think I don't know what we've got. Scott's over here talking about, we've got some leftover. I don't know if we've got any leftover at all.
So, I mean, so you're looking at it here up on the screen again, I just pulled it up. You've got, let's just say we don't have any, we don't want to allocate any to the contingency or provision of government services, and we don't, as of yet, haven't given any to Powder Mountain. So we have 3.3 million left.
Okay.
That needs to fund the contingency, and then needs to fund whatever we give Powder Mountain. Now, if you were to do a 5% contingency, which is roughly what we did when we plugged in these numbers, that would leave $1 million-ish. I mean, we could go up or down a little bit. Maybe we don't want a 5% contingency. Maybe we're comfortable saying we want a $1 million contingency. Let's say it's $1 million, then that means there's 2.3 available for appropriation to Powder Mountain. So in either of the scenarios, I don't see us being able to fund the full amount. I mean, we've got $3.3 million to play with, and that's got to cover contingency and whatever we give Powder Mountain.
I want to see if you consider bringing that into this discussion now and saying, not just the 1.2, but can you look at that contingency and add more to Powder Mountain from that contingency?
Okay, so I think that's.
And at some point say, we're now done.
So let's solve question I've got right now, so make sure we know we're getting that right. So let's leave Powder Mountain out of discussion. We're gonna talk about Powder Mountain contingency in just a second. Are you comfortable with the numbers submitted by Wolf Creek, which is the 3.8 and 4.1?
The 8 million between those two, right? Is
But yeah,
that a question to?
I'm
You're
asking,
asking
okay,
me?
I'm
You're
asking-
looking at Scott.
no, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey? Okay, all right. So now so it looks like you're okay with those numbers as presented.
Providing I've got a second with the comment.
Sure.
There has been some healthy dialogue as of late, but that continues. That's been refreshing. So I'd like that dialogue to continue happening. And I'll just be bold and say, ideally for me, I would love to see one day that all come together under one district. Now, maybe that's a year, maybe that's a decade, maybe that's a century. But I think the right thing to do for the people up there would be to put all those users in as things continue to build out. Because I think what that does is it creates a wealth of redundancy. Possible redundant based on where everything is on, and I think that would be really good. I mean, you've got Weber Basin spending something $billion doing some redundancy in the mouth of 89 right now too. Yeah, so redundancy we know is a good way to go. That's just my comment on that. But that's some fluff around. Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, so that would be talked about in the interlocal agreement we've done. Make sure that the discussion does help those businesses, because it still comes down to me. The more people we could serve with the money that we're allocating and existing customers, and we know why we're doing it, to get rid of those septic tanks, makes the most sense. So
Thank you, sir.
anyway, take that back, and then you'll be working with Chris, I'm sure, on the interlocals, right?
We got Quinny working on the 2 interlocals.
To that point, all the reviews and examinations or inspections are that when the John Lewis project comes in and folds into Wolf Creek, you're monitoring that entire thing, so there's not gonna be a hiccup for you accepting any of that work.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And we pushed Shane and his team into the testing mode. That started about 2 weeks ago. Everything's been checking out nicely, so.
I think that it needs to be included in the language of the agreement that they
Well,
sign, however that works out.
our process is the contractor finishes a section. We actually put a break on things and said, look, we need to cut this into sections. So if we do find there's a leak, we can find that leak. That testing program has been continuing.
Yeah.
And so far it's been working out really well. I think we're getting close to 75% on probably even 80% on the piping. The lift stations aren't quite there yet, but it's coming along, and we are deeply, deeply appreciative to you, all 3 commissioners and staff. Thank you so much.
Well, it hasn't been an easy journey, Miranda,
It hasn't. I would agree.
but I think, Shane, are you okay with where you sit now with Wolf Creek and?
Yeah, we're working well together. We've got a good plan moving forward. I expect we'll have all the pipes complete and probably a large percentage of the lift stations complete by the end of this year. So we'll be probably 100% done sometime next spring.
Okay.
So in good shape.
All right, good. All right, let's go back to Powder Mountain and contingency. So right now, what's the percent? You don't show the percent. What's our revenue contingency right now, percent wise?
What's the percentage of the total?
Yeah,
Does that represent 5%?
It was roughly 5%. It's not anymore, but
yeah.
it's not exactly 5% anymore. Cause we put a little bit, it's 4.7, 4.65.
Okay, well, we're close.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm open to suggestions or recommendations on contingency, understanding that we take out a contingency and would put that in the column we refer to as Powder Mountain.
I'll make a suggestion that we bump that to 1.8 million.
Okay, Put that number in if you wouldn't mind, Scott. So that leaves us 1.5.
1.5, 3%.
3%?
Commissioner Bowles, where are you with that?
Well, I'm more comfortable with 5% contingency. I don't know.
So most of these projects already have a contingency built in
Built
each
into it?
individual project. This is if they go over their contingency and then they have to come back and, so
Yeah.
this is like the
Okay.
second contingency.
This is like a slash
Okay.
rainy day fund.
Okay. I'm okay with that then.
Okay, 1.8, 1.5 contingency, which is what'd you tell me, 3.6?
3%.
3%. Okay, that's cutting a little close for my blood, but I can live with that. Commissioner, Treasurer, John Bond.
We want you to succeed. We want you all to succeed. But I'm gonna push my question to you, Roy, if that's okay, if you don't mind. This needs to happen.
Yeah.
And if we're at 1.2 and all of a sudden we're trying to find a way to get it so that it'll work, what is the go button for you as far as ARPA money that you think you can achieve success with this project? Is it 1.2? Is it 1.5? Is it 1.8? Is it 2 million? Where is that spot where we just need to fund to that point? And I know they're trying to deal with the contingency and it's an effort right now on their part to help you get to a spot where you not only have money that you can contribute into this thing, but as we add, it actually happens. Where is that spot?
Probably on the numbers you looked at.
Yeah, I can address that. In that estimate, you saw a dozen line items.
Sure.
Any one of those line items could be its own project. We have already done a topo survey. The topo and all the information's there. We're almost done with geotechnical survey. A lot of those projects, we anticipate still doing this fall. I realize the leaves are already changing colors, but they're urgent enough that I've got to get it in this fall. And so with that into place, my staff's telling me that we're about a week away from getting things out to bid.
Yeah.
Just because we've got to.
Yeah.
So any help that we can receive is greatly appreciated, whether it be, 1.8 million or 3.0 and.
Let me say
whatever.
number two is probably just, if you've got a priority of events that are on that piece of paper, can you prioritize those and get the most important things done first? Taking the 1 point something
That's what we would do. We'll take whatever you give to us and appreciatively, and we'll prioritize what we need to get done. I mean, one of them is just getting the pipes in so we can get the flow in the right place. Another is just getting access. I mean, there's $500,000 there, $500,000 there, just getting access into the property so that if we have another winter like we had last year, we can get in and get some things done. So
Is that
it's
helping
all
a
very-
little bit?
It does, no. And so I think, just to be clear, I think what we want to do is take off that list, because that will be part of the interlocal, so that we know exactly where those funds are going. So we don't say, okay, we're gonna take this 200,000 and do something else with. So we want to be very clear that that money needs to be spent in those exact locations.
There's a list right there. So
Okay.
that's the way we intend on doing it, aside from the fact that they do need to be prioritized. Some of the ones on the bottom are high priority in my mind. The one on the top is a high priority and the others in between would be elsewhere.
Okay. So as long as you can get that to us.
They're still closer to 2, though, is what I keep saying.
Well, the 2.4
million,
that you're
yeah.
looking at there, granted, that doesn't have the contingency
Yeah.
again, that you
Yeah.
like to put on there. And, engineering, bonds, permits, everything else.
Okay. Well, your users may have to come up a little bit more, but that's okay. They'll pay it.
Yeah, and they will be. I mean, that's the plan. They're gonna have to spend quite a bit and then.
Well, I would
Any
explain to
impact
them,
fees or anything else?
this is probably a little easier on their pocketbooks than if you go to the bank and finance it.
Oh, sure.
So
yeah.
I would make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
We're
And-
a pretty
and it's
easy bank.
Yeah. We do. We appreciate everything. It's a lot of money. I mean, it seems like small numbers compared to the bigger ones, but it's a lot of money. We appreciate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what we've attempted to do, and I think we've been pretty successful, is we've been over this, how long now, JB?
It's been a while.
that we looked at where we could be most effective with that money. Thanks to Linnell, Brooke, Scott, obviously Sean, that we, at the end of the day, when this first came about, how do we make sure that this 50 million gets placed in our county in areas that will have the greatest impact on current people and future generations? And so far, I think we've done a pretty good job with that.
Well, by doing this, we also keep the mind on the ball. This is we reduce the nitrate level in Pineview, which is the water source for the majority of the people of Weber County on this side. That's why there's so much being invested, disproportionate amount being invested on the other side, because it does have an effect here.
You're exactly right, Commissioner Harvey.
I gotta be excused.
Okay, you're excused. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Yes, you
Thank
will.
Thank you for being here. Commissioner Bowles, any last questions, comments?
Yeah.
Any questions or comments, JB? Okay, Brooke, Linnell, anything you'd like to say or add?
So I just, Scott, clarification. So we're going to draft 3 separate agreements for the amounts that are listed up here. 3.8 million, 4.1 million, and 1.8 million. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct, the way I understand it.
And then for the 1.8, we're gonna have a list of itemized ones.
They're
Prioritize.
gonna give us back a list, a prioritized list, and we'll say, and incorporate that, yeah.
And then we'd anticipate having those agreements ready by what?
It shouldn't be difficult to put them together.
Okay, let's say end of the month, first of the November. Okay, all right, you have our authorization. Miranda, Roy?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad to see this day.
I gave him the card ahead of time, I gave already.
Yeah.
I did, yes, that was true.
So thanks, folks. Especially Brooke, Linnell, JB, you're the ones that taken the time to go through all those. And Scott, obviously, bring us some, great comparison recommendations. We couldn't get here without you guys, so very much appreciated.
Appreciate what you guys do.
Thanks. Thanks, gentlemen. Hey, thanks. All right, we got your sheriff coming.
Coming early.
Well, no. Oh, wait, we moved up
We
mountain.
flip 'em.
We moved up mountain with you, didn't we?
I'm not sure what she ended up
Well,
doing.
that's what we requested.
Well, let us know if you need another one.
I mean, that's very frustrating. We serve a district that's got 3,000 plus people in the west. This serves 100 people, maybe 150. You've given them 3.
The two districts combined, they're about.
I know, but it's still pretty,
I understand.
it's pretty.
Yeah, we get it. Hey,
Deja vu, Mr. Brewer.
how you doing? You got the word, huh? Oh, yeah. Good to see you, John. How are you?
This is.
Appreciate you coming up a little early.
Yes.
Well, Brand, welcome.
Hello, sir.
How we doing?
Good, you?
Good.
Well, better before the last discussion, but now my blood pressure's hot, so.
Oh, I don't know if I wanna sit there then.
I'm not that bad. Come on, Tammy. I got all my frustration out last week.
Okay.
You did?
Well, kind of. I don't know. I wasn't too mean, was I? Maybe to Harvey.
Oh, don't be mean to Jim.
I've lost it off on. Can we call it? No, it's all right.
I got this.
I'm happy to talk to Bob if you don't want to.
I don't care.
Whatever.
Well, maybe we just do it together.
Maybe.
Since that's kind of. All right, we'll set that up. All right, who we waiting for, Tammy?
I don't know if we're waiting for anybody else, but
Rick's not here, Charlie's not here, right?
yeah.
I mean, it'll go fast.
Okay, Ashley's here. Is Gary coming?
No, he's in another meeting.
He
Thought I could
John's
handle
here.
this one.
We're looking
No,
at,
Liam.
where's our, Liam or somebody else?
Liam was planning on coming when I
I
talked to
tried to
him.
call- Oh, he was, okay.
Yeah.
Did he know it was moved to
You know what? I
2:30?
don't know if he knew that it was.
I tried calling him and he wasn't picking up, so. it'd be nice if-
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started.
Well, you talk.
Looks like we're still rolling.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to our, actually 3:30 agenda item, Mountain View subdivision. We appreciate everybody moving that up a little bit. We're moving a little faster. Doesn't usually happen that way. Tammy, you wanna give us your take on this?
Do you want me to give you kind of an overview?
Yeah, give us the overview. We've had, I think everybody is kind of familiar with what this is. We just want to make sure that we're paying attention to the planning commission and making the right steps.
Right, okay, so this is a subdivision, Mountain Views subdivision, is that the full name of it? Located out off of 7500 West, just south of the railroad crossing, south of 12th Street. This went before the Western Weaver Planning Commission back on September 19th. With some additional conditions of approval that would be brought before you. And Brent, I'm sure will speak to these, and I think he's had discussions about these previously, but I'd like to read them to you if that's okay, so I can get them kind of word for word.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read you, do you want me to read the preliminary or just go straight to the recommendation?
No, both of them, please.
Okay, so this was these were both preliminary and final were on the same meeting. We don't normally do this. This is,
I back you up one step.
yeah, sure.
So like I brought to when we met the other day, this is coming in for it had been previously approved, it
Okay.
expired. Now it's back to the table because it had expired and it's starting back over.
Okay, and I wasn't aware of that until, yeah, okay.
And so that's some of the conditions that were done at the preliminary stage, especially where we brought it through our agenda, one after another. We kept together because that's what was conditioned upon when we previously approved it, and you guys approved it back in 2018? 2020.
2021.
2020? Okay, got it, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. So this was the preliminary approval. Commissioner Wickern made a motion. This was an amended motion to, let me make sure I'm reading this. This is from the minutes here. To recommend to grant preliminary approval based on the following conditions. Number one, a table must be shown on the final plat showing lot area and widths for all lots within the subdivision. This is a lot average subdivision required by our code.
Got it, yeah.
Okay, number two, draft improvement plans shall be submitted to the county engineer prior to final approval from the county commission. Number three, a signature block for the Culinary Water Authority shall be shown on the final plat. Number four, there will be an egress to 10800 West as was proposed earlier. This is that railroad crossing right out before you start heading up to Little Mountain, okay? Number five, there is approval.
Excuse me, so go,
Yes,
read that again, so it said of
Sure.
what the egress would be put in, or?
there will be an egress to 10800 West.
All right, will be,
Okay.
okay,
Number five, there is approval by fire and engineering for Weber County. This is with the additional recommendations, the egress to the east be reviewed and approved by engineering and fire prior to county commission. That's their preliminary approval, okay? This is their final approval, and again, they're kind of one right after the other, so they may seem a little repetitive, or maybe they just kind of jump ahead, but motion is made again by Commissioner Wickern that, let's see, table must be shown on the final plat, that was in their preliminary. Number two, installation of all required improvements. An escrow approved by county engineering or a combination of both is required prior to going before the county commission for final approval. This includes a signed improvements guarantee agreement. That's a standard agreement we have whenever there's roadway or any kind of infrastructure to be installed. Number three, a development agreement that details the egress to the crossing at approximately 5900 West Street shall be recorded with the final plat, including an exhibit showing the area being dedicated and expected improvements to be made by the developer and will be finalized prior to appearing before the county commission for final approval. Funds towards a bridge, and this is probably some erroneous language on planning's part, as planning was not looped into many of these conversations that you have had with the developer. A bridge over this crossing shall be held in escrow. What it should have said is a bridge over the river shall be held in escrow by the county as part of this agreement. A signature block for the Culinary Water Authority is shown on the final plat. And number five, egress is approved by engineering, fire, and Union Pacific for emergency use prior to county commission. Those are the recommendations for preliminary and final. I think part of the reason for this meeting is to make sure that everybody is on the same page as to what needs to be done prior to appearing before you. to make sure that the planning commission is clear on what they've required. If there's anything that's unclear, this can always be remanded back to the planning commission for a recommendation of final approval again, but we want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Charlie has drafted a development agreement that he has sent out to the developer, to our county attorneys, to planning, and I think to engineering. Have you seen it as well?
Yeah.
Okay, that details the egress and installation. The other thing I want to point out is our county code requires that that egress be secured before they record their final plat. That's in our code. We haven't, is there anything you want to add?
I watched the work session, last week about this item. I watched that again today.
Yeah.
And there was a question, I think, from the developers who said, are we good to record our plat this coming Tuesday, tomorrow? And I think, I don't know if it was the planning commission, having seen the work session or whatever, maybe wanted to just hold off a bit because I don't believe the developer has secured that egress yet.
Which egress? Both or?
Either of them.
Okay, so couple of questions. First, dealing with egress. So it required, obviously, egress to the west. But I understood that it also required one to the east. Is that correct? Because I thought there was some discussion that was one or the other at some point.
So
I just want to be clear.
We had a motion made that died in the meeting for both ways, going both directions.
Okay.
And that motion didn't carry through. That was a preliminary motion.
All right.
And then we settled on the one going to the west. For sure needs to go in. If they choose to go to the east, then that's when the approval's gotta be put in place and the accesses and the easements gotta be there. In my opinion, going to the west is better. That comes across to county access. Going to the east at 5900 is a private access. And so that's why I specifically made sure on the final motion that an approval get put in place by Union Pacific. Because now they're changing the use of that private access at 5900. So with the confusion and everything that's gone on, my recommendation as planning commission chair is we push it back for a new final approval from the planning commission and have further discussion on what went on in the work session last week related to the bridge and the emergency accesses through there. So
Okay.
that's what I would like to see done. I think, as you can read through, I mean, there were some, I think, the planning commission meeting was when we first heard about the bridge. There were some statements made in there that made the planning commission, at least made me feel a little bit better if they went with the bridge. And that was in the minutes when Mr. Price told us that there would be no building permits issued on this until the bridge went in. And I think that was a little bit swayed from what the conversation was in your work session last week. So I really think it'd be better let the planning commission have another look, discuss further. And then
until escrow, sorry, there's escrow of the bridges, no building permits will be issued until escrow is established.
See, and I
That was,
took it the way that our minutes show it, and that says no building permits until the bridge is built.
yeah, that's not what I am.
Is that what the minutes?
That's what our minutes
There
state.
was a lot of confusion because we grabbed 3 different conversations and then we put it into one and then none of what was said at the end was not all what was meant. So because we grabbed 3 different, so we got west, we got east, and then we got the bridge. It's like, no, we talked about west, we talked about going east, or we talked about a bridge. It was 3 options. And then at the end of the planning commission, they got it as one east-west bridge. I'm like, whoa, that clearly I was not, there was some confusion going on. And you can't say anything after, once your time's up, you can't go and clarify what was said. So, no, we talked, our very original preliminary approval was just the road going west, which was not an issue. In that meantime, a lot of builders have come in and bought a lot of ground and all the things happened. Then this bridge, the bridge was never even discussed at this point. There was no development plans. There was no idea of a bridge. That was it. So we were planning on going west. That entire summer of 2021, we met in this room with Marriott's, with Flagship, with, Pat, with all these different builders who were acquiring a bunch of ground there on east of 7500. And they were saying, hey, we are, and this is when the economy was, right? This is when the market was hot. So they're saying, we're gonna put in the bridge, we're acquiring all this ground, and we wanna put a bridge right here. So then we were told, hey, hold off on that road. We actually talked about 3 bridges, right? We talked about a bridge over 8300, a bridge over 7100, and a bridge over river. At one time, that was a large plan, because we had Litchfield, we had the guys that own all that where the inland port ground is now, We had all these people, all these players in, talking about what they wanted to get done for their grounds. So we were told, hold off on that road, because we have these other plans. This is when that Japanese company was coming in, maybe with Marriott's as well, and there was just a lot of things moving. So we kind of held off for a little bit, and then, because that bridge almost looked imminent, and we were told, maybe instead of building the road, you'll just put the money in, instead of building that road, you'll just put the money in for the bridge. So that seemed like our path going forward, is that's what we were being told is, we think that money going towards the bridge is more useful for your money. Well, everything slows down, we need to move forward, because we got all this money to this ground, and we go back to, I think, okay, we gotta move forward, we can't wait no longer. What do you want us to do? Road or bridge? And that's where there's some confusion, that's when we started coming to you guys saying, hey, we still think putting the money towards the bridge is a far better use of the money. Because talking to Litchfield, they're saying, hey, we don't want, I mean, this road, you can put it in, but we're gonna tear it out, because we're not gonna hold that road for you guys when we start doing our plans. You know, we're not gonna let that road affect how we're gonna build this ground and put in our plans. This is before inland port, right? But, so anyways, we're like, well, that's just gonna be a big waste of money then, basically. We'd rather just have it go towards an escrow, so the county can say, bridge, and if none of this transpires, there's the money, we go build the road. And so, that's why we come and talk to you. This is our fourth time now having the same conversation. We're not trying to get out of anything. We're just saying, what's the best use of the money of that? You know, if you want the road, then let's do the road. But just know it's gonna be a temporary, it's just a waste of money, or it could go towards, you know, that bridge. If the bridge looks like in 2 years from now, we have a 2-year, so we talked about, we have a 2-year window on it. If the bridge is not going in 2 years, not imminent, and we don't see those plans going forward, that money's sitting there in escrow, and then we can go and put in that road and have it there for that. But in 2 years, they all might look very, very different as well, right? Because we'll find out in December, I guess, on that inland deal, and there's a lot of things playing out. We're just saying, where's the highest and best use of the money? And so, if there was an emergency today, I told you guys, I can get people out going west. I drive a semi across there to move cows in and out, and I can get people out going west as it sits today. Yeah, in the spring, we gotta hope that nothing happens in March. It's a muddy mess, but you know, that's anywhere. You know, there's helicopters and stuff. If it's that big of an emergency, that's what I'm talking about, existing residents. We have no plan for existing residents, right? So it's the same thing. So we would just do the same thing, but the money's sitting there for that purpose. So I left from our last meeting, thought that we had a really good plan to move forward. I don't think we need to go back. I don't think that any more time is gonna change that. I think we just need to decide, is it road? And let's do the road. But it could have gone towards the bridge, which I think would be a higher and better use for the money.
But if we build the road then in the development agreement where we were gonna contribute with all the future lots, then.
Yeah, then we're not contributing to the future lots either, you know, in our development agreement, we're contributing in the next phases, we're contributing money towards the bridge as well as part of our development agreement for what we're doing here. So it's overall, it's playing into the big picture. It's not doing so much for the, you know, today, but it's playing it more into the big picture of what's going on in the area.
And to clarify, sorry, Glenn, to clarify, this is a bridge over the river. This is not a bridge over any railroad. It's a bridge over the river.
We get that.
The development agreement that we have drafted right now, that we're still waiting to get feedback from legal, because it was just done, is that the developers submit improvement plans for that road west. Show us engineered plans, give us a cost estimate. If engineering approves it, give us an escrow check for that. We hold that escrow. They have 2 years to get that bridge in. If it doesn't go in, then that money is then used towards installation of that roadway, and they cannot plat any future phases until either the bridge is in or the road is in, period.
But before they plat any lots at all,
Mhm.
they need to have that egress secured. And they
You gotta
have to
have
have
easements,
the.
right.
Any future lots.
For any lots, for any of these 21 lots, there has to be an egress for them, because technically 7,500 already has more than 30 lots. Unless in a development agreement, unless you want to waive that requirement, for even their first phase, that egress needs to be, it needs to exist, and our engineers and fire need to be on board with how it's built.
Okay. Got it.
Also, just to give a clarification, you guys should have a plan by probably the end of next month with that bridge. They're working on their the group that's doing that now with Flagship, there's two of them now. They're working on getting their, I just met with them with the water. And they're gonna meet with sewer here with us, next month, our next meeting. And, you should have a plan of that bridge and that development with the east side owners' cooperation with what their input as well on that, what that bridge would look like and that road would look like.
So I disagree with that statement, because I've talked to two of the owners on the east of that bridge today. And neither one of them are in favor of this moving forward, especially on the 1600 alignment. And so I really think there's all this talk about this bridge and going across the river, but going from 5100 to the river, which you've got Martini's, you've got DeGiorgio's, you've got McFarland's. Right now, McFarland's and DeGiorgio's are in favor of the 1600 alignment, but they have not had any discussion from any landowner or anybody wanting to come to buy their property or how that alignment goes. Our general plan, this was a big point of discussion on how that 1800 is going to continue out and then wrap through there. The 1800 alignment's the alignment that's in the plan. It's what the landowners through there prefer, but no one, I mean, we keep talking this bridge. I recommend the county commission pull these landowners together and let's have a discussion with the developer and those landowners, because there's too much of this being said and this being said. Let's get everybody around a table. John DeGiorgio told me this morning, he would love to sit down and meet with you guys because he's a key player in that alignment if it goes through. He's not against it. He's not in favor of it, but he says, let's start having the discussions instead of all this hearsay. You know, Pat Burns made a bunch of comments last week on how this bridge is there and the county's gonna take care of the east. Well, let's bring the discussion together. So if it's gonna move forward, I mean, if they're designing plans to get this thing going, let's bring that key part of that into this discussion. And, you know, sorry, we're getting off topic more on this bridge than on this item. And I just think that's where we need to go with the bridge. But back on the item, you know, if the planning commission was very strongly about that road going to the west, that's how it met the code. If it doesn't meet the code, as Steve stated, we're over the 30 lots on a substandard street and our emergency access. That's why they wanted the access going to the west, just like we did in 2021 or whenever it was when we approved it before, prior to it expiring. I mean, if this wouldn't have expired and they would have recorded it in time, they would have still had to put the road into the west. You know, and so if we want to differ from that or what was recommended from the planning commission, like I said, I would like to see it come back and let us have a discussion with the developer, have them give us a point of direction, which way, I mean, they've got three options. Give us an option that they want to stick with. Let us at the planning commission discuss, okay, how does it fit into the code? And if it meets what the code is, and then we'll give you guys a clear recommendation on how we feel to move forward.
Okay. But just so I'm clear, if we took the stance that the planning commission said that road to the west has to go in, has to meet county, does it still need to go back to planning commission if
that's the direction? I mean, that was clear in our preliminary motion that had to stay in there.
Okay.
When we went to final is when the discussion come together of possibly 5900, possibly a bridge, you know,
Okay.
possibly this.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say, Brent, is if they prefer not to put that west road in, then they need to come back to planning commission, give the alternatives and let you guys make a recommendation.
I would like that. I think that's.
Which I'm not necessarily.
Sounds fair to me.
Okay. Go back over that provision with the fire district and what we talked about with the railroad.
Yeah, there was a condition, one of the conditions of their recommendation of final approval is that an egress is approved by engineering, fire, and Union Pacific for emergency use before going to the county commission.
I think that was intended for the 5900.
Yeah,
Right.
we wouldn't need that if we go west.
No.
If they go west. If they go 50, yeah, I would agree. And I think from a county liability, that I think we'd want to get that, if it ended up going to the east, we'd want that release from the UP as well. Or they come back on us, not the UP, but the owners in that subdivision come back.
You mean if they can't get out?
They can't get out.
Yeah, they can't get out, but Charlie and I talked about this a little bit, and the difficulty is, I mean, yeah, we can go to UP and ask as a courtesy and just have that formally done.
Is it absolutely required upon us to do that, though? That's the issue.
Right.
That we couldn't come to a
It's
conclusion on.
a private crossing, right?
Right,
So
it
we
is a
probably
private
don't
crossing.
need their approval for
Right.
that connection.
Exactly,
is
that's
what-
the conversation we had earlier as well. But as a courtesy, yeah, we could absolutely do it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think if the east easement, the east access was to go, we would need also further proof that we've got easements, et cetera, and would still have to be, let's say east versus west, would still need an improved road there, right, of some sort?
Yep.
We can't get by with a 12-foot, would a 12-foot agricultural easement pass that muster?
No.
Okay.
Fire district is, it's at least 20 feet of, road base supporting
Okay.
a fire truck.
Okay. Commissioner Bowles, what do you want to do with this?
I'm in favor of going back to planning, have that discussion again, but I also like your suggestion to bring those landowners, because my impression last week was that they were in favor of the bridge. And if they're not, then that's a whole different topic of conversation, right? If it's not gonna happen in 2 years, we talked about 2 years. If it's not gonna happen in 2 years, why would we collect that in escrow and let it sit there and depreciate really
That's
on what it's gonna fund if
exactly.
it's not?
Well, I think we need to have that discussion with the Giorgio and that group regardless. I mean, that's a key discussion. I think really it comes down to, and correct me if I'm wrong, if it sounds like if we're gonna follow the planning commission directions, that would require you guys, if you guys go in west right now, put that road in, it doesn't go back to planning. If you think you've got a better case to tell the planning commission for the bridge or the east access, then we go back to planning commission.
Yeah, and
I think that's a discussion.
yeah, I mean,
right?
the east guys were the ones who pushed it towards so we have met, I don't know why we're saying we have met with the east. They're the ones that pushed the 1800. They didn't want, John said he would fight tooth and nail at the 1600 crossing, which is why we've changed that to 18. They want us to meet with them with what it would look like, what it would be, on that, which we're meeting with them, I think next week, or the week after. But yeah, we can call, Ken McFarland's one who's kind of running the east, he's the kind of representing the east side landowners, and so he's the one that's been in most of the discussion, but yeah, then we'd come to you guys and say, this is our plan, for that, but yeah, there is ongoing conversations on that bridge, but we had already said, if the road, we'd put the road in a long time ago, if that was, but we were told from the county itself to hold on for these other reasons, right? It wasn't our idea to put money towards the bridge, that was to the county, it was Commissioners Jenkins, saying, don't do that, that's dumb, but he's not here now, and so doesn't work in our favor, right? But
Well,
he was involved in all these
I
meetings.
would agree that I'd rather put money on the bridge. But than the road, that makes more sense. But right now, I'm not convinced that bridge would be in 2 years.
Right.
So I agree with Commissioner Bolos, and then, so what is your plan on pulling building permits? What's your time schedule?
Right, I mean, as soon as we can plat, and we're trying to plat as quick as possible.
All right, so you plan on pulling
I mean,
building?
building permits probably wouldn't come till first of the year, but
Right.
people buy their lot, do their plans. I mean, maybe probably around, March, April.
Right.
And they can start.
But you could conceivably have homes trying to get occupancy permits by
the end of next year.
By this time next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And we're still 2 years out. Let's say, so now you're another year out from the bridge.
Yep.
Where does that leave us in terms of, their access? So.
Emergency access.
Yeah, okay.
We're banking on the train derailing and homes starting on fire. And even then, let's say a home starts on fire now, what's the water pressure? Last time a home started on fire out there was no water pressure. Like, I think some of the discussions we're having, I think it's all about for liability, right? It's just to cover our butts, but it's not, we're not doing anything reality wise to improve. And then what about the 30? I'd like to know what the county's plan is for the 30 existing homes now. Do they know where they're supposed to go? Like, is there emergency?
County ordinance is 30 homes.
Right, but what do they do
So
now?
now you're building on addition to those
That's the
homes.
acceptable death count.
Yes.
Okay, as long as we're okay, as long as we have an idea that we're okay with that many people dying, and I guess I'm.
The next one at the table would have to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you just happen to be the next one at the table.
Right, no, and I get that. I'm
There's
just
a
saying
reason
it's-
why we have a substandard road ordinance. There's a reason why the county has the ordinances that they have, is to protect what's there. Once it starts expanding.
But we also gotta bring up this didn't happen until the county got sued. We were already past all this and into this. We came in and we met with all the, planners and engineers with our idea. And everything was good. And then that was in March of 2020 probably. And it wasn't till, and we started getting all our plans in, and then there was this lawsuit of some sort or something happened. And then it was like in August of that year that we were told about this road for the first time.
It was a new section of subdivision code that got
Okay,
adopted.
maybe, okay, there was, I knew there was something happened, but we'd already gone through and got everything, started and whatnot. It just kind of caught us right in the middle of our process, or we wouldn't even have started this. Had that road been an issue from the get-go, before we did all our engineering and all these, commit all this money and loans and all that, we never would have started this process to begin with.
Sure.
So just things have just happened, and then the timing's killing us because we keep on getting told,
So we're $1.3 million into infrastructure, and so we need to wait if we decide to go west and get an approved road. Or go back and start over and meet with all those people going east about a bridge. I agree, that could take decades.
Well, we're meeting with
Can't get 21 lots done in 4 years.
Yeah, we're meeting with the East, like, as far as the bridge goes, I'm not too worried about that. We're gonna meet with them. They just wanted to see they want to see it on paper, right? What that looks like, what the proposals is and everything like that. John just said 1,600 is a no start conversation for him. Not at all. He will not even entertain it. And they didn't like it either. Katie didn't like it because it would curve and they thought it would cause a lot of problems, which we like 1,800. The hard thing with 1,800 was the bridge, but screw it. We'll deal with whatever engineering can figure out how we get across the river there, right? If that's what they wanted, then we'd rather have it be easy going on the east side and not have a fight on the east. But Kenny and John, I haven't talked to Martinez. Kenny's kind of the only one that Kenny goes and talks and then comes back and tells us what they've said. But so I've been dealing primarily with Kenny Farland on the east
Right,
side.
well, what we'll do is put a meeting together, probably a work session meeting to have those landowners come in. You'll be invited there to have that discussion, because we just need a clarification on, is this thing really gonna happen and if so, when? So I really think the question now is for you guys to make a determination. This is your determination, really not, if you wanna go west, it appears to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've got the planning commission's approval, and which means that we would okay it going west with that improved road. If you wanna go east, then you've got to come forth with some additional information as far as easements. Again, same type of ordinance requirements that engineering can tell you what that road looks like. If you wanna wait for the bridge, then come with a proposal for the bridge. But I think those are the three choices. You disagree or?
Nope, I agree.
So, but I think it's your decision. And again, I think other than going west with an improved road, you go back to planning commission. And convince them, if you can convince them, hey, this makes sense for the bridge, and they come to us and say, commissioners, accept that money in escrow for the future bridge, and we've got an agreement with the landowners. We would, I don't know why we wouldn't, because we really agreed to that prior to.
Yeah.
Not understanding that what the planning commission had really put forth in their recommendation was, I don't think it was clearly
explained to us last week. I apologize for that, but just what it is.
But let's say that we decide to go to the road to nowhere for nothing. That would only work for the 21 lots that we're currently.
Technically, they'd have to give us up to 30, right? We could get the 30 lots off that.
So when we came in to do the rest of the land, we'd say, now we need another egress going somewhere else. And if
true.
we went east, it'd be another 30.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we get up to the 30 if we go the road west. But you just gotta know that the road west is gonna be that easement is a temporary, they'll have the ability to take that out when they start doing their developments and whatnot.
But there's still gotta be a connection.
Yeah, well, they're never
That's,
connect.
that's part of it, even if they change the route. Part of our understanding is there's always gonna be an egress
Yes,
going
which
to
they're
the
gonna do
west.
is, clearly, they're gonna wanna have, they're gonna have access going in and out as well. I'm just saying, they're gonna change the lining of that, so we're just gonna put it in the road. It's gonna be a lot of money. It could have gone towards something more useful, but it's gonna just, let's put it in, we'll throw a road in. That's not an issue. We said that all along. We're not trying to get out of building a road. We're saying, is that the highest and best use? Are we being smart knowing what the big picture is? Or would we rather just say, here's how much that road costs, put it in escrow for that bridge, which we just thought was a better use of the money than a road that.
I don't disagree.
Well, it
If
is,
your
but-
road would
right.
be, if that bridge was designed, if everything was acquired and you knew that was going into construction next year, I agree with that point.
Yeah, which we, and that's out of our control, but that's why we had a 2-year, expiring on that, because we don't have control. Us as a group don't have that control on what that looks like in that time frame. I do know that the west side is eager to, they want to have something into by the end of the year, and preliminary by the end of the year. So met with water, Marriott, they're meeting with us, for a conditional will serve on sewer, meeting with east side on that as well. So I know they want to move forward to get that to the preliminary as quick as possible. So that's why we're making those recommendations, but we are also paying interest on this loan, so we really don't have the luxury of waiting very long, but we'll throw that road, and we've talked about that all along, yeah.
I was involved in the meetings at the beginning. I don't know how we got this far or not without that happening. Or wouldn't have, but. Okay,
Well, I think so is your choice to go ahead and go west then?
I guess we'll have to talk about
I
it.
think it's a lot
Do you
shorter
guys-
than, yeah, I mean.
You guys wanna talk about it? I mean,
We have to have a meeting with the landowners anyway, because we still, we have still 100 acres out there that we.
Yeah, I mean, the bridge is in our best interest as well, obviously, that's why we thought the escrow and then us contributing towards with our future development lots. We're putting in $5,000 per lot. And then $1,000 on the building permit, so it's $6,000 per lot that's going towards, the bridge and whatnot, so we felt like we were being good team players and contributing to the construction of the area.
well, there's no question. I think all of us would prefer that money to go into the bridge. The issue is that if I knew for a fact, 100% guarantee that bridge was gonna be built at the same time or before that we issued occupancy permits, we'd be fine. But we don't want to have people, then we get a year down the road, we've been through this, we're not doing it again, where people now start calling us because now they're out of compliance for whatever reason. And we can't move them in their home. That's not,
Yeah, we don't either.
we've been through that one too many times.
Yeah, we weren't trying to, this was not our idea originally, right? This was an idea that was given to us by we would have put this sort in. I wish to everything that these meetings never would have happened. That summer, we never had Marriott and all those guys and all the things that were going on.
Yeah.
And we would have just threw the road in, because we never argued about putting in the road.
Yeah, no,
It was,
That's all hindsight, right? So we'll just
Yeah.
move forward as it is.
I
I think
understand.
we can at least all agree that the bridge going in is more likely than a derailment causing people to be trapped, just for the heck of it, not because it means anything, but.
I don't
and the
disagree
word
with that,
trap seems extreme.
but I think it would still benefit us to have a meeting with those landowners,
Yeah,
just
for
to
sure.
to see how close we were.
Sure.
And you guys probably ought to
Let's
have
do
that.
both simultaneously, because it's still, like you said, we don't know of other land down there that we need. If there's ever gonna be people on it, they need to be safe from the derailment.
so,
Okay.
and that meeting should happen. I know that they're working on that right now to get that.
Brad, does that answer your questions?
I think that,
Okay, Tammy?
I think it does, yeah, I think it does.
All right. Okay,
All right.
thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Sorry for the confusion. but-
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
go on for next one. I'm glad this got moved up, because I was learning someone to make it back to the water board.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Okay,
We've been flying. Thank you. You got your answer.
no, I appreciate you looking back through, and if you want, said I talked to John this morning and Martinis, and
So who do we need in the room? Will you get with our gals and make
I'll
sure,
get with Stacy and.
or get with Sean, either one, or Stacy? We just need to make sure we invite the right people.
You've got names and numbers.
All right, good. I'm gonna talk to several of them this morning before this meeting, just because I wanted real information if we're gonna come sit around the table and have a
So
discussion.
are they in favor of the bridge or not? I mean,
John, it's taken John a long time to get on board with it, but he's in a better attitude towards it today.
Okay,
than he has been. And like we've tried to tell him, look, just understand, you know, they're not coming to try and tear your farm apart. It's just, as things grows, it's just how things are built out. And so, but like even John Price has stated, they're against 1,600. The general plan shows 1,800. They like that alignment. I mean, we had a lot of that discussion during our general plan meetings and stuff to keep it 1,800 and curve it over once it hits out west there. But I mean, but John to Georgia, there's 4 landowners essentially. And like John made the point this morning, you come down 1,600 and you widen out 1,600, you're gonna have to take several homes. If you keep the
Yeah,
1,800 alignment, you gotta take out 1 home.
I don't disagree with that.
So, and you know, you look at connections. As soon as West Haven puts in the piece to 21st Street, I mean, 1,800 is gonna have right from I-15 all the way west, so to future West Weaver, so.
Yeah, well, you know, I just don't think that bridge is gonna happen within 2 years.
I don't either.
No.
And that was my concern of the discussion that took place last week is we're putting it on a whim, you know. It's gonna take 2 years to get an environmental document cleared.
Yeah.
You could build it
Mhm.
across that,
Mhm.
so.
I just can't figure out why they got this far down the road with all their infrastructure till, I mean, they knew about this beforehand with this access road and other that,
Yeah,
whatever.
yep.
It is what it
It
is.
expired and that's where we're at today, so I appreciate your time.
So the previous didn't require an access
Yes.
west or did?
Yes,
Okay.
they've known they had to do this since it got improved in when we approved it however many
Okay.
years ago.
All right, so the west egress was never a surprise.
Nope.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Sheriff, have a good one.
Thank you.
too.
Thanks, Brent.
Sheriff, welcome. We're now at our 3 o'clock. Wow, we're on time.
Close.
Close. Sheriff's office update.
Yes. How are you?
We're gonna
We're
watch
doing good.
a
How about
video?
you?
Good, thank you.
You're still looking pretty healthy, you know, all the stress going on.
Well, that's what we're gonna talk about just briefly.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
All right, well, I wanted to share a video. I was asked to, well, not asked, I thought about how can I capture the last several months of what we're trying to do, especially vote and getting the word out. So this is a minute 36 and it says vote for, I think it says Donnelly, but just change the word to Weaver Justice Center.
Okay.
And so this is probably a bit of an exaggeration, but this is kind of my emotions of the last
I feel like it's not an exaggeration. And I
Several-
haven't seen it yet.
several months.
So are you the black sheep or what are you?
I'm this guy.
Okay.
I'm this guy. I'll just
You're
put it to you that way.
okay.
So let me get it going here. Oops. Let's see, where did it go, Chris?
Over there to the left.
No, there's the volume.
Oh.
I think I did it on the computer. I did.
There you go.
Hold on, let me back this up. Is that enough volume?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, here we go.
Full screen.
Oh, thank you, little Ruth. Please stay strong. In the
Easily here.
Oh, that's good. I haven't never seen that.
Black Sheep,
Is that a movie or?
yeah.
It came out, when I was in high school.
Was it?
Right after Tommy Boy.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
he was quite the guy, wasn't
I think it's still on.
Am I doing something wrong here? Oh, nope.
he? No. Better not leave meeting. There we
There
go. Ah, thank you. We always appreciate a little humor now and again.
Yeah, it's fun. No, it's been a good ride. It's been very informative. Lots of good people. I mean, for probably all of us, it's been, I don't know about you, Commissioner, Flora, I don't know, have you been involved in a bond? At this level with us?
Well, involved with paying bonds off.
Sure, but
So
not,
to raise one, no. No,
but it's first for
Well,
all,
not at this level. I
Right.
did at the state. But then I only had to convince, 50 or 60 people to vote for it. So it wasn't too tough.
no, it's been a lot of good stuff, a lot of frustration, a lot of good support, a lot of good help. But anyway, it's gonna work. Just basically some announcements I wanted to share with you today and then answer any questions. October 24th, we have our trunk or treat. I don't know if you remember last year, we tried to do it at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And it was disastrously good. We had to put parking near the jail, and that was the same day that the F-35 crashed at the Hill. But we're moving it out to the fairgrounds.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people
The
coming.
24th.
Yep, 24th, 6 to 8 PM, parking lot, west parking lot. We got a jail tour scheduled this Wednesday, 5:45 to 8 PM. There's an in-person town hall on the 25th, 6 to 8 PM.
At the sheriff's office?
Yes, Teletown Hall, November 2nd. That's scheduled to be, we're trying to pinpoint that when we think the ballots will actually be in their mailbox that
Should be,
night.
yeah.
Because they go out the 31st, mailed out, so they'll be that day or the
A
next.
good share will be in their mailbox,
Yep.
yeah.
Another open house, the November 3rd, the next night, and then another in-person town hall, November the 8th, 6 to 8 PM.
So the difference between the open house and
I might have that wrong. Go ahead. Let me look at my schedule.
in-person town hall. I don't remember
I
anything.
think
on
the open
third.
house is probably our like emailed one to local leaders. Let me just
Oh,
double
okay.
check. November 3rd. Yeah, it's a jail tour. I meant to say jail tour, not open house.
And who's invited the jail tour,
So we've
public or?
yeah, we're gonna open up to staff and their families.
Okay.
And we're opening up to, we've emailed like council members sitting in their position, mayors and so forth.
Okay, great.
So we've hit just about everybody we can,
Nice.
we have access to. So
I think that's important.
Mhm.
it is,
Boots on the ground.
yeah,
Yeah.
mailers are going out today or tomorrow,
Good.
Commissioner, right? From
It
DTO,
was ASAP, so.
yes.
The
I don't
mayor,
know what
first
that
one.
is that going to all voters
Uh-huh.
or?
Mhm,
It was approved Friday,
yes.
so it'll be printed and mailed out
Nice.
as soon as it can.
Nice. Okay. More information, the better, the way I look at it.
Yeah, so I do have a question for you. So I've called several representatives in our area about support and so forth. Why do they seem to be resistant to get out in front of this and support this? Is this because it's?
Cause they're chicken.
Okay, that's okay.
You're talking state level?
Yes,
Yeah, I assume that's who you're talking about.
yes,
So, yeah, I can't answer, I mean, everybody might have their own take on it. From a state standpoint, a lot of times, I think what they do is they don't want to mix state politics with what they do locally, which in
Just
my
avoid
mind,
it.
well, in my mind, that's not necessarily what I would do, but I see that happening more than once.
Yeah, you've always seemed to be bold and upfront.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna you will open yourself up to criticism. And I think what it comes down to basically is that in our conservative, sure, Commissioner Bowles and I have this discussion. Anytime anybody can accuse you of supporting raising taxes, property taxes, you're in a position, you have to defend yourself. And even though this is the right idea at the right time, you've got that segment in Republican Party that's gonna, not be in favor of property taxes, at any property tax.
Yeah, Scott Park
So-
came over to my office yesterday or the day before and talked to us about what's gonna happen for the new budget. And he commented and said something that I often forget is we provide a service that the public asks for.
Yeah.
And it bears a cost. We can't provide things for free. We can't. And I've heard that long ago, and it's true to this day. I can't provide a deputy out on the road for free. I can't provide a sergeant at a deputy cost. You can't. Right? Well, I can't provide a captain at a corporal cost. You can't.
No.
And so, and we got attorneys. We can't pay Chris a starting person's wage. He's worth more than that, right? And the public expects, a high caliber attorney, right, from us when we need it. So, and it goes for every other position, right? I'm not saying it has to be diamond or platinum plated, but they expect the best when they need it, and we have to provide it. And they expect a jail to hold inmates. I've got to provide it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I think that's what it comes down to in this budget session. One thing that I think we've tried to drive home to all our departments is, what's a core service? What actually should the county provide? Because we can't be everything to everybody, just as you said. But public safety, certain things become very evident that they're a core service. I don't think there's a better example out there than public safety. I mean, if you take, water, sewer, garbage, everybody likes that stuff. But at the end of the day, what they want to do, they want to make sure that they feel safe, that they've got somebody to call in case of an emergency. And, that somebody's regulating in terms of highway and everything else. And I don't think they look at it like we do in terms of, maybe, and some people do. Laura Warburtons of the world understand that the old model, just let's lock people up, let them come out, they'll be a better person when they come out because they'll.
Yeah, but you're right.
No longer applies. They don't come out better, they come out worse.
They do.
And so we're not doing a public service. We're not doing a great core service to the public if we just do that rotating group. In fact, we're doing a disservice.
We are.
In my opinion. So.
What is the role of government?
What's the role of government? Yeah. And I think you've done a great job, and hopefully that message will start to sink in when they get those ballots. Look, we can either continue to do things like we've done in the past, which obviously is not working because we continue to get more and more people. Mental health is an issue. All these other things is kind of the last 10, 15, 20 years becomes really the central of the type of people we're dealing with. So I don't know how you communicate that any better, Sheriff.
Well, it's true. Anyway.
We'll get through this one way or the other, no matter how that is. I think we're convinced, from a commission standpoint, that, that justice center out there has to be a top priority.
Well, there's no doubt that these circles that we're in, we know we need it. It's
Yeah.
just gotta
Yeah.
convince the public. So we're getting there. We're doing good things.
I think so.
It's hard, it's hard, even though the thing that requires us to do it is the federal constitution.
Yeah,
The state
right.
constitution, the thing that we prize the most and we always hold ourselves to, that we cherish most, and it's required under the Eighth Amendment.
Right.
That we take care, I mean, most of the Bill of Rights is to criminal defendants.
Sure.
Until it impacts you personally, it's hard for people to see it.
Yeah, they don't wanna pay for it because it's always somebody else's problem.
Right.
It's never their problem, well.
Well, and you can never take them to the point of, well, if we just stop providing the service, then people will sure notice very quickly.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, what happens if it goes away, right? Yeah. Anyway, Sheriff,
What can I do for you guys?
great job.
Thank you.
We got a whole list here, let's see.
Our sheriff's list, we were
You
making.
got the sheriff's list. I
That's
think,
all you have, just bond, that's all you wanna talk about?
The only thing that's on my mind.
everything else is going okay?
Yeah, I think so. It's going good. We had it wasn't on my counter. I got to work and I was supposed to wear a white shirt, but I got to work 9:45, a little late, and chiefs are on white shirts, and I'm like, what's going on? They go, well, we have a academy graduation. I'm like, we do? Like, where's it at? They go, it's at the warehouse. So we have like 13 graduates.
That's what Sharon said.
I'm like, whoo, all right, let's go. And then just that moment, Commissioner Bowles calls and I'm like, hey, we're going over there. So, yeah, I mean, we have a really good group. This 13 seems very good.
Wow.
A lot of them, their fathers are
Oh.
law enforcement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that as big a group as you've seen in a
A
while?
long time, yeah. And then it's odd because they seem all like good cadets.
That's interesting.
Yeah, sometimes, this sounds bad, but you know, sometimes you're just like, it'll work out. These all seem very
great.
good, yeah.
Yeah, good.
So we'll see.
Well, that's, they like what they see out there. Good workers get attracted to good leadership, so.
Yeah,
There you go.
we got some good staff. So,
All right, anything else?
no, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you're doing. Let us know how we can.
You have a vacation plan for the day after the election?
I do. It's about 2 months long.
There you go.
I did tell my wife if this thing passes, I said, we'll just gonna get on a plane and go somewhere. She goes, where? I says, I don't know.
Don't know, don't care.
We'll spin the wheel and go. She goes,
We gotta go
"All right."
either way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Anywhere, we're just going.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So,
Take a break. You owe it to yourself.
all right,
Thank
thank you
you.
guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Ryan.
See ya.
All right, any further business? Is that a
Nothing for
motion?
me.
Motion to adjourn? All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.